The conversation at our dinner table had been going on for 20 minutes, and I hadn't been allowed to contribute a single word. My husband David's business partners spoke around me like I was a decorative centerpiece, occasionally patting my hand when I tried to interject. "So it's settled then," Richard Blackstone announced, cutting into his perfectly grilled salmon. "Thursday's dinner at La Bernardine will be just the partners. We'll finally close the Morrison deal." "Absolutely," agreed Thomas Chen, raising his wine glass. "No distractions this time." David shifted uncomfortably beside me. "Actually, Juliet might have some insights on the Morrison proposal. She's quite knowledgeable about." "I'm sure she is," Richard's wife Patricia interrupted with a condescending smile. "But Thursday is about serious business discussions. You understand, don't you, dear?" I understood perfectly. After 3 years of marriage to David, I'd attended dozens of these dinners where the men discussed million-dollar deals while their wives and I were expected to smile, look pretty, and discuss shopping. "Besides," Thomas added, not even looking at me, "La Bernardine has a 3-month waiting list. We were lucky Richard could get us a table at all." "Very lucky," I murmured, taking a sip of my wine, a 2015 Chassagne Montrachet that they'd ordered without asking my opinion, despite the fact that I'd trained under the sommelier who'd curated this very wine list. "Don't look so glum, Juliet," Patricia stage whispered. "We wives are having our own dinner at that new sushi place. You can tell us all about your little cooking blog." My little cooking blog. The one that had quietly become one of the most influential food publications in the city, though I wrote under a pseudonym. The one where I'd recently published a scathing review of the new sushi place that had resulted in its chef having a public meltdown on Twitter. "That sounds lovely," I lied, catching David's apologetic glance. "Seriously though, David," Richard leaned back in his chair, the leather creaking under his self-importance. "Wives at business dinners are a distraction. Remember what happened with Morrison's wife at the last quarterly meeting?" "She corrected his math," I said quietly. "Exactly," Richard boomed, missing my point entirely, completely derailed the presentation. "Morrison was humiliated. Because his projections were off by 30%, I added. Richard waved dismissively. "Details. The point is, Thursday needs to be focused, professional. No offense, sweetheart, but you probably wouldn't understand half of what we discuss anyway." "None taken," I replied, though David's hand found mine under the table, squeezing gently. He knew better. He'd seen me review restaurant PLS in my sleep, negotiate with suppliers in 3 languages, and build something from nothing, but his partners saw only what they wanted to see, a pretty young wife who must have married up. "Where is this dinner again?" I asked innocently. "La Bernardine," Thomas repeated slowly, as if I might have trouble with the French pronunciation. "It's a very exclusive restaurant, Michelin stars, impossible reservations, the whole 9 yards." "I've heard of it," I said mildly. Patricia laughed. "Of course you have, dear. Everyone's heard of La Bernardine, though I doubt any of us could get a table without Richard's connections." "My college roommate knows the maitre d'," Richard bragged. "Took some serious string pulling, but for the Morrison deal, worth it." The waiter appeared to refill our wine glasses, and I noticed the subtle way his eyes widened when he saw me. Philippe, one of my former sous chefs who'd moved to this restaurant after I'd recommended him. I gave him the tiniest shake of my head, and he smoothly continued his service without acknowledgement. "Speaking of La Bernardine," Patricia continued, "did you all see that review in the Times last month? They called it a transcendent temple to French cuisine. Can you imagine creating something like that?" "The chef must be a genius," Thomas's wife, Linda, sighed dreamily. "I heard she trained in Paris under Ducasse himself." "She?" Richard scoffed. "The executive chef is some guy named Bernard something." "Bernard Laurent is the executive chef de cuisine," I corrected gently. "The chef owner is someone else." "Whatever," Richard dismissed. "Point is, Thursday's dinner will be at the best restaurant in the city, with just the serious players. No offense, ladies, but million-dollar deals require a certain atmosphere." "An atmosphere without women?" I asked. "An atmosphere without distractions," Thomas corrected, though his smile was patronizing. "You have to understand, Juliet, business at this level is complex. It's not like running a household or planning a dinner party." David's grip on my hand tightened. He'd watched me plan dinner parties for 300 people, orchestrate service that ran like clockwork, manage budgets that would make his partner's deals look like pocket change, but I'd asked him to keep my secret, and he had. "Of course," I said smoothly, "I'm sure your dinner will be everything you hope for." The conversation moved on to other topics, their golf games, their portfolios, their important connections. I contributed appropriate nods and smiles while mentally reviewing Thursday's menu. We were debuting a new tasting course that night, and my sous chef had been nervous about the soufflé timing. As we prepared to leave, Richard pulled David aside. "Seriously, man, leave the little woman at home Thursday. This is big boy stuff." "Juliet understands," David replied tightly. "Good man." Richard clapped him on the shoulder. "La Bernardine, 7 sharp. Don't be late, you know how these fancy places are about punctuality." I knew exactly how these fancy places were about punctuality. I'd written the reservation policy myself. Thursday arrived with the kind of crisp autumn evening that made the city shine. I stood in my office above La Bernardine's kitchen, watching through the one-way glass as my staff prepared for service. The kitchen moved like a ballet, each person knowing exactly their role in the choreography I'd designed. "Chef," my maitre d' knocked softly, "the Blackstone party has arrived. Table 7, as you requested." "Thank you, Henri." I tied my apron, the one with the subtle JL, monogrammed on the chest, my actual initials, Juliette Laurent, though everyone assumed it stood for someone else. "Send the amuse-bouche with my compliments. I'll be down shortly." Through the security monitor, I watched Richard and his group settle into their seats, already loud with self-importance. David looked uncomfortable, checking his phone repeatedly. He'd texted me 6 times already, apologizing again for not defending me more strongly. "It's fine," I'd replied. "Enjoy your dinner." If only he knew how much I meant it. I made my way down to the kitchen, where my team snapped to attention. 3 years of anonymity had been challenging but necessary. I'd wanted to build something on my own terms, without the baggage of being David's wife or dealing with investors who thought a woman couldn't possibly run a kitchen of this caliber. "First course out in 5, I called, moving to the pass to inspect each plate. "Let's show table 7 why we have 3 Michelin stars." The dance began. Course after course flew out of the kitchen, each one a small masterpiece. Through the service window, I could see Richard's table growing quieter with each dish, their business discussion forgotten in the face of culinary perfection. "Chef," Philippe appeared at my elbow. "Table 7 is asking about wine pairings for the 5th course. Send Henri, tell him to recommend the Burgundy, but let them think it's their idea." I watched Henri work his magic, Richard predictably choosing the exact wine I'd suggested, then bragging to the table about his sophisticated palate. David, I noticed, had barely touched his 4th course. He kept glancing around the restaurant as if looking for something, or someone. "Chef, we have a problem." My sous chef Marcus rushed over. "The soufflé for table 12 collapsed. We need to restart, but that'll throw off the timing for switch 12 and 7. I decided quickly. Give 7 the intermezzo early, tell them it's a special palate cleanser. That gives us 20 minutes for the new soufflé. "Yes, chef." This was what Richard and his boys' club would never understand. Running a restaurant at this level wasn't about having connections or writing checks. It was about split-second decisions, managing chaos, leading through crisis. Every service was a $1 million deal, except the stakes were higher: people's celebrations, their memories, their trust. "Table 7's ready for the meat course," Marcus reported. I moved to the grill station, personally plating each portion of the A5 Wagyu that Richard had bragged about ordering. As I worked, I thought about Patricia's comment about not understanding serious business. If only she knew that this single dinner service would generate more revenue than most of David's quarterly deals. "Chef," Henri reappeared, looking concerned. "Table 7 is insisting on meeting you. Mr. Blackstone is being quite vocal about it." I smiled. "Tell them the chef will visit after the dessert course, as is traditional." Henry's eyes sparkled with understanding. "Of course, chef." The final courses proceeded flawlessly. Richard's table had gone through 6 bottles of wine, the business discussion long abandoned in favor of increasingly slurred proclamations about the food. David, I noticed, had switched to water 3 courses ago. As the dessert plates were cleared, I untied my apron and straightened my chef's whites. 3 years of anonymity were about to end, but on my terms, in my restaurant. "Ready, chef?" Marcus asked. "Let's not keep Mr. Blackstone waiting. He does hate distractions during important dinners." I walked through my dining room, accepting quiet congratulations from other tables, until I reached table 7. The men looked up with the satisfied stupor of those who'd eaten exceptionally well. "Gentlemen," Henri announced formally, "may I present the chef-owner of La Bernardine, Juliette Laurent." The silence was absolute. Richard's wine glass slipped from his hand, burgundy spreading across the pristine white tablecloth like blood. Thomas's mouth opened and closed soundlessly. The other partners stared as if I'd materialized from thin air. David, my wonderful husband, tried to hide his grin behind his napkin. Juliet? Richard finally managed. But you're a wife, I suggested helpfully. A distraction? Someone who wouldn't understand serious business discussions? You own La Bernardine? Thomas whispered. But we thought, the reservation, my friend said. Your friend told you what you wanted to hear, I said simply, that a man named Bernard ran the kitchen. He does, Bernard is my executive chef de cuisine, but this? I gestured to the restaurant around us. This is mine, built from scratch, funded by my cookbook sales and that little cooking blog Patricia found so amusing. The Times Review, one of the other partners breathed. They said the chef was a ghost, never did interviews, never revealed themselves. I prefer my food to speak for itself, I replied, though I must admit, it's been educational hearing your opinions about women in business while eating at my table. Richard's face had gone from red to white to an interesting shade of green. We didn't mean, that is, we weren't talking about you. Of course you were, I said gently, you just didn't know it. Tell me, Richard, how was your $1 million meal? Did my silly female brain manage to create an atmosphere conducive to serious business? The Morrison deal, Thomas said faintly. We completely forgot to discuss the Morrison deal. Funny how that happens when you're not distracted by wives, I observed. David, darling, are you ready to go? I believe Patricia's dinner at that new sushi place should be wrapping up. David stood, his pride evident. Actually, I texted Patricia earlier, warned her about your review of that place. They went to Mario's instead. My review? Richard looked confused. What review? JL, Laurent, David said simply. The most influential food critic in the city, also my wife. You're JL, Laurent? Thomas grabbed the table for support, but that review destroyed Kenzo's career. He closed his restaurant. He served tuna that wasn't sushi grade and tried to pass it off as authentic Japanese cuisine. I said, people could have gotten sick. But don't worry, your dinner tonight was prepared to the highest standards. We take our responsibilities seriously here. Henri appeared with their check, presenting it with a flourish. Richard reached for it automatically, then froze as he saw the total. Don't worry, I said sweetly, I gave you the friends and family discount. Only a 30% markup instead of our usual 50% for exclusive private rooms. Private room? Richard looked around, but we're in the main dining room. Are you? I smiled. Take another look. They turned, finally noticing what David had observed halfway through dinner, the subtle screens that had been deployed, the way other diners were seated just far enough away, the acoustic dampening that had given them privacy while maintaining the illusion of the bustling restaurant. You see, I explained, I understand the importance of atmosphere for business discussions. I just also understand that excluding half the population from those discussions is bad business. Juliet, Richard started, then stopped, clearly at a loss. Thank you for dining at La Bernardine, I said formally. I hope your next business dinner is everything tonight wasn't, forgettable, ordinary, and exclusively male, though you might have trouble finding a restaurant of this caliber that meets those criteria. You see, quite a few of the city's best chefs are women. We talk, we support each other, and we remember who respects us and who doesn't. Are you blacklisting us? Thomas asked in horror. Of course not, I replied. You're welcome here anytime. But you might find it difficult to get those exclusive reservations you prize so highly. Henri, please see that Mr. Blackstone's party has their coats. As we walked toward the exit, David took my hand. That was magnificent, he murmured. That was necessary, I corrected, though I do feel bad about one thing. What's that? They never got to try the soufflé. It's really quite spectacular when it doesn't collapse. Behind us, I heard Richard struggling with the check, Thomas frantically calling other restaurants, and the sound of several extremely expensive business relationships crumbling like a poorly made pastry crust. Juliet, Richard called after us. Wait, please, we need to discuss. I'm sorry, I said, turning back with my sweetest smile, but I have an early morning tomorrow. You understand, I'm sure. After all, wives aren't invited to serious discussions. The door closed on his protests, and David and I stepped out into the crisp autumn evening. 3 years of anonymity had ended exactly as I'd planned, not with a whisper, but with a 5-course feast of revelation. So, David asked as we walked toward our car, what are you going to do now that everyone knows? I thought about it, breathing in the city air that smelled of possibility and just a hint of roasted garlic from my restaurant. I think I'll start with that interview the Times has been begging for. Maybe a cookbook focusing on women chefs who built their own empires. Oh, and I should probably call Patricia. Let her know she's always welcome at La Bernardine. Without her husband. That's cruel. David laughed. That's business, I corrected. The serious kind. The kind that apparently requires a very specific atmosphere, one where talent matters more than chromosomes and creativity counts more than connections. My phone buzzed with texts, Henri reporting that Richard had left a 50% tip in what appeared to be shock, Marcus confirming that tomorrow's reservations were still fully booked, and my network of chef friends asking if the rumors were true. Any regrets? David asked as we reached our car. I looked back at La Bernardine, my name finally glowing where it belonged on the discreet brass plaque by the door. 3 Michelin stars, 5 years of blood and burns and 18-hour days, all built while people like Richard assumed I was playing housewife. Just one, I admitted. What's that? I should have charged them full price. David laughed, pulling me close. There's my ruthless businesswoman. Distraction, I corrected, kissing him. I believe the term they used was distraction. The most delicious distraction in the city, he agreed. As we drove away, I saw Richard and his group still standing outside La Bernardine, looking lost and slightly hungry, as if they'd eaten a 5-star meal but somehow missed the point entirely. They'd learned an expensive lesson tonight: never underestimate the person who controls your food, and never, ever, tell a chef she's not invited to dinner. Especially when she owns the table you're eating at.
The crystal wine glasses clinked as my family toasted to Nancy's engagement for what felt like the 100th time that evening. I forced a smile, gripping my own glass so tightly I worried it might shatter. That's the thing about family dinners. They're supposed to bring people together, but sometimes they just highlight the cracks that were always there. I'm Sophia, and I've spent 28 years being the family's afterthought. Tonight was no different, except maybe it hurt a little more than usual. To Nancy and Ralph, my Aunt Caroline squealed, her diamond bracelet catching the light as she raised her glass. We're so excited to start planning the engagement party. My mother Raylin nodded enthusiastically. We've already booked the Grand Plaza Hotel ballroom. It's going to be spectacular. I nearly choked on my wine. Just last week, when I'd mentioned my own upcoming wedding to Santiago, my parents had given me their rehearsed speech about tight budgets and difficult times. Speaking of weddings, I ventured, setting down my glass. Santiago and I were thinking of having ours at the local community centre, since everyone's been talking about budget concerns. The table fell silent. My father Jeremy cleared his throat. Honey, we've discussed this. Times are tough right now. Nancy reached across the table and patted my hand with fake sympathy. Don't worry, Sophia. Sometimes simple weddings are the most meaningful. Right, I replied, withdrawing my hand. Simple and meaningful, like your engagement party at the Grand Plaza. That's different, my Aunt Caroline interjected. Nancy's engagement is a once-in-a-lifetime celebration. And my wedding isn't. The words slipped out before I could stop them. Sophia, my mother warned, her voice carrying that familiar edge of disappointment. Ralph, Nancy's fiancé, cleared his throat. Hey, who wants to see the venue photos? They just sent them over today. I watched in silence as everyone huddled around Ralph's phone, oohing and eyeing over the crystal chandeliers and marble floors. My phone buzzed in my pocket, probably Ruby checking in. She knew how these family dinners usually went. We're thinking of having ice sculptures, Nancy announced. Mum says the budget can stretch a little for something special. I excused myself to the bathroom, hands shaking as I pulled out my phone. There it was. Nancy's mother's Instagram post from this morning. Meeting with the event planner. Can't wait to give my baby girl the engagement party she deserves. No expense spared. Yas Grand Plaza, your luxury venue. The timestamp showed she'd posted it right after telling me they couldn't contribute to my wedding because everyone's struggling financially right now. I scrolled through more posts, catering deposits, flower arrangements, designer dress shopping. Each one felt like a slap in the face. When I returned to the table, dessert was being served. Nancy was describing her vision for the ice sculpture. 2 swans with their necks forming a heart. That sounds lovely, I said, my voice steady despite the storm brewing inside. How much does something like that cost? The table went quiet again. My father shot me a warning look. "Sophia," my mother hissed. "That's not appropriate dinner conversation." "Just curious," I shrugged, taking a bite of tiramisu. "Since we're all so budget-conscious these days." Nancy's face flushed. "Well, Mum and Dad want my day to be special." "Of course they do," I replied, standing up. "And it will be. Santiago's waiting for me at home, so I should get going." "But you haven't finished your dessert," my mother protested. "Lost my appetite," I said, grabbing my purse. "Congratulations again, Nancy. Ralph, I'm sure the engagement party will be everything you've dreamed of." As I walked to my car, my phone buzzed again. Ruby's message read, "How bad was it?" I typed back, "Remember when you said I should stop letting them walk all over me? Well, I think it's finally time." Starting my car, I caught a glimpse of my family through the dining room window. They were already back to celebrating, probably relieved I'd left. They had no idea what they'd just set in motion. I pulled out of the driveway, my mind already racing with possibilities. They thought they could dismiss my wedding while throwing money at Nancy's engagement party. Fine, let them think that. But I was done being the family afterthought. It was time to show them exactly what I could do on my own. "You want to do what?" Ruby nearly spat out her coffee across the cafe table. "I want to plan the most incredible wedding this family has ever seen," I said, pulling up Nancy's mother's Instagram posts on my phone. "Without their help, without their money, and without them knowing until it's too late." Holly, my wedding planner friend, leaned forward, her eyes sparkling with interest. "I'm listening, and I might have some ideas that could help." "I've been saving for years," I explained, sliding my phone across the table to show them the Grand Plaza posts. "They think I can't afford anything better than the community centre, but they have no idea what Santiago and I have put aside." Ruby scrolled through the posts, her expression darkening. "These people are unbelievable. Ice sculptures for an engagement party while telling you they can't help with your actual wedding?" "That's not even the worst part," I said. "Look at the date of the party." Holly leaned in to look. 2 weeks before your wedding date? That's just cruel." "Exactly. They're trying to overshadow my wedding with Nancy's engagement party." I took a sip of my latte. "So let's give them something they can't overshadow." "I might have exactly what you need," Holly said, pulling out her tablet. "Remember that new venue that just opened? The Glass Gardens? I have connections there through my previous events." Ruby's eyes widened. "The place with the retractable glass ceiling and the hanging gardens, that's like impossible to book." "Not if you know the right people," Holly winked, "and guess what? They had a cancellation for your date." My heart started racing. "How much?" Holly named a figure that made Ruby gasp, but I just smiled. "Perfect. Santiago and I can handle that. What else do you have up your sleeve?" For the next hour, Holly laid out possibilities that made Nancy's ice sculptures look like child's play. Living walls of flowers, string quartets, gourmet food stations, and a dress designer who owed her a favour. "But here's the real coup," Holly said, lowering her voice. "Remember that celebrity chef who did that charity event I planned last month? He's looking to break into the wedding scene. If we book him, the local media will definitely be interested." "Media coverage," Ruby squealed. "Your family would lose their minds." "That's the point," I said, feeling a surge of excitement. "They think they can dismiss my wedding. Let's make it something they can't ignore." "Sophia!" Santiago's voice came from behind me. He'd arrived for the meeting right on time, as usual. "Are you sure about this?" I turned to face my fiancé, expecting disapproval, but found only concern in his eyes. "This isn't just about revenge," I said softly. "It's about finally standing up for ourselves." He sat down beside me, taking my hand. "Then I'm in, all the way." "Perfect!" Holly clapped her hands. "Now, about the guest list. I have some contacts from my event planning work. Influential people who'd love to attend a wedding at the Glass Gardens." "Won't your family be suspicious if you suddenly have this amazing wedding planned?" Ruby asked. "That's why we're keeping everything under wraps," I explained. "As far as they know, we're still having a simple ceremony at the community centre." Holly will help us manage 2 sets of invitations, the decoy ones for family and the real ones for everyone else. Speaking of family, Santiago said, what about mine? We'll tell your parents the truth, I assured him. They've always supported us. They can help keep the secret. Holly started typing rapidly on her tablet. Okay, let's lock in the venue today. I'll call my contact right now. As Holly stepped away to make the call, Ruby squeezed my hand. You know this is going to cause drama, right? They created the drama when they decided Nancy's engagement party was more important than my wedding, I replied. I'm just making sure the finale lives up to the show. Santiago kissed my temple. Whatever happens, we're in this together. Holly returned beaming. The glass gardens is ours. They're even throwing in the premium lighting package because they want to get established in the wedding market. Looking around at my little team, my supportive fiancé, my excited best friend and my skilled wedding planner, I felt more confident than ever. My family thought they could push me into the background, make my wedding an afterthought to Nancy's engagement party. They had no idea what was coming. Let's do this, I said, raising my coffee cup. To the wedding they'll never forget. As we clinked our cups together, I couldn't help but smile. The pieces were falling into place, and for once I was the one calling the shots. Let them have their ice sculptures. I was about to show them what a real celebration looked like. So, honey, have you and Santiago figured out the menu for the community centre? My mother's voice crackled through the phone as I stood in my kitchen, chopping vegetables for dinner. You know they have strict rules about outside catering. Actually, Mum, we're thinking of changing some plans, I said carefully, testing the waters. We might have found another option. Sophia, she sighed, that familiar note of disappointment creeping in. We've been through this. You need to be realistic about your budget. I set down my knife. What if I told you Santiago and I have been saving, that we might be able to afford something nicer? Don't be silly. Nice venues are booked years in advance. Besides, you don't want to start your marriage in debt. She paused. Oh, did I tell you about Nancy's ice sculpture tasting? They're letting her sample 3 different designs. My phone buzzed with a text. Holly had sent a photo of the Glass Gardens contract, ready for signing. I smiled. That's great, Mum. Hey, I wanted to check something about the wedding date. About that, she interrupted. Your father and I meant to talk to you. We might need to leave the reception a bit early. We found these amazing cruise tickets for a great price, and the ship leaves that evening. The knife clattered against the cutting board. You're leaving my wedding early for a cruise? Don't be dramatic, sweetie. We'll be there for the important parts. It's just that these tickets were such a good deal, and we already promised your Aunt Caroline we'd go with them. Let me guess, Nancy and Ralph are going too? Well, yes, it's sort of an engagement celebration cruise. The doorbell rang, saving me from saying something I'd regret. Someone's at the door, Mum. I have to go. Don't forget to check the community centre's catering rules, she called out before I hung up. I opened the door to find Santiago, his arms full of takeout bags. One look at my face and he set everything down. What happened? They're skipping part of our wedding for a cruise, I said, my voice shaking. A cruise to celebrate Nancy's engagement? Santiago pulled me into a hug. Maybe we should tell them about our real plans, show them what they'll be missing. No, I pulled back, wiping my eyes. Let them go on their cruise. They can see the photos afterward like everyone else on social media. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Ruby. Turn on Channel 5 now. We rushed to the TV just in time to see a segment about the Glass Gardens. The reporter stood in front of the magnificent building, talking about upcoming events. This exclusive new venue is quickly becoming the most sought-after location for high-profile celebrations. That's going to be our wedding, Santiago whispered, squeezing my hand. My phone rang, my father this time. I answered on speaker. Sophia, your mother tells me you're talking about changing wedding venues, he said. I hope you're not getting carried away with ideas above your means. Dad, Santiago and I can handle our own finances. I know you think that, sweetheart, but weddings are expensive. The community centre is perfectly fine. You don't want to start your marriage with unnecessary stress. Like the stress of your parents leaving early for a cruise. He sighed. Your mother told you about that. Look, we got a great deal on the tickets. Right, because Nancy's engagement cruise is more important than your daughter's wedding reception. That's not fair, Sophia. We'll be there for the ceremony and most of the reception. And it's not just about Nancy. Your Aunt Caroline organised this whole thing. Of course she did, I muttered. Well, don't worry, Dad. You won't have to feel guilty about leaving early. Go enjoy your cruise. After hanging up, I turned to Santiago. Holly sent the venue contract. Should we sign it now? He grinned. Let's do it. We spent the next hour signing documents and sending them back to Holly. While we ate our now cold takeout, my phone kept buzzing with messages from my mother, each one more concerned than the last. Are you really going to change venues this late? The community centre is perfectly nice. Think about the cost. Don't do anything rash. I ignored them all, instead texting Holly, contract signed, let's make this spectacular. Her response came immediately. Already on it. Wait until you see what I've lined up for the menu tasting next week. No ice sculptures, but trust me, it's going to be unforgettable. Santiago watched me texting with a worried smile. You okay? I looked up at him, feeling more certain than ever. You know what? I really am. Let them go on their cruise. Let them think we're having some sad little reception they can skip out on. In 2 months, they're going to realise exactly what they missed. And what's that? The wedding of the year, I said, sending Holly one final message. Go big, no holding back. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our special guest, Chef Marcus. Holly's voice rang with excitement as the renowned chef entered the private tasting room at the Glass Gardens. Ruby grabbed my arm and whispered, I can't believe we're actually doing this. The chef, known for his appearances on multiple cooking shows, smiled warmly. I understand we're planning something extraordinary here. Shall we begin? For the next 2 hours, we sampled dishes that made my previous wedding menu ideas seem like cafeteria food. Each plate was a work of art, from the truffle-infused appetizers to the gold-dusted desserts. The presentation is essential, Chef Marcus explained, arranging edible flowers on a perfectly seared scallop. When your guests share these photos on social media, they'll be impossible to ignore. Santiago's eyes widened at the mention of social media. Speaking of impossible to ignore, how are we handling the press coverage, Holly? Holly pulled out her tablet. 3 local magazines have already confirmed they want to feature the wedding. The Glass Gardens PR team is thrilled. They're calling it their flagship event of the season. My mother still thinks we're having grocery store sheet cake at the community centre, I laughed, but there was a slight tremor in my voice. Ruby squeezed my hand. Have you seen Nancy's engagement party updates? No, I muted all their social media. I can't deal with more ice sculpture debates. Smart move, Holly interjected, because wait until you see what we've arranged instead of ice sculptures. She pulled up a rendering on her tablet. Living art installations, fresh flowers arranged into sculptures that change colour throughout the night thanks to specialised lighting. Santiago whistled. That's going to make their swans look like plastic lawn ornaments. The guest list is coming together too, Holly continued. Remember that reality TV star I worked with last year? She's coming, and that local news anchor, plus several social media influencers who've been dying to post about the Glass Gardens. What about the decoy invitations? I asked. Ruby pulled out 2 envelopes. Done. The fake ones for your family look appropriately budget-conscious. Basic cardstock, simple design, community centre address, the real ones. She opened the second envelope, revealing an elegant, handcrafted invitation with real pressed flowers and gold foil details. These are going to make people's jaws drop. Perfect, I said, just as my phone buzzed. It was my mother. Sophia, Nancy just told me you haven't RSVP'd to her engagement party yet. It's only polite to respond. I put the phone on speaker. Actually, Mum, I don't think we can make it. We'll be too busy with last-minute wedding preparations. But it's 2 weeks before your wedding. Surely you can spare one evening for your cousin's special day, the ice sculptures. Will be lovely, I'm sure, I cut her off. But we have our own plans that night. What plans? The community centre handles all the setup. Holly and Ruby had to stifle their laughter as I replied, We're just being thorough, Mom. Wouldn't want anything to go wrong with our simple little wedding. After hanging up, Chef Marcus cleared his throat. I have one more surprise, instead of a traditional wedding cake. He unveiled a sketch of an architectural masterpiece, tiers of desserts connected by flowing chocolate waterfalls and suspended sugar sculptures. It's perfect, I breathed, and totally Instagram-worthy, Holly added with a wink. Now, about the entertainment. We spent another hour finalising details, the string quartet for the ceremony, the jazz band for cocktail hour, and the surprise headline performer Holly had somehow managed to book for the reception. Everything's falling into place, Santiago said as we left the tasting. But are you sure you don't want to give your parents a heads up? They might feel like I felt when they decided to skip half my wedding for a cruise, I finished. No, let them think what they want. They made their choice. Ruby checked her phone. Nancy just posted more engagement party photos. They're doing a tasting too. Looks like chicken or fish options from the hotel's standard menu. Let them have their hotel banquet, Holly said. They have no idea what's coming. As we walked through the glass garden's magnificent atrium, I caught sight of my reflection in the soaring windows. I barely recognised myself. This wasn't the family afterthought anymore. This was someone who was about to pull off the event of the season. 2 more weeks until Nancy's engagement party, Ruby mused, and then 2 weeks after that. Then we show them what a real celebration looks like, I finished, watching the sunset paint the glass ceiling in shades of gold and rose. Let them enjoy their ice sculptures while they can. Holly's tablet pinged with another confirmation. The media team wants to do a pre-wedding feature. Should I tell them yes? I thought about my family, probably gathering right now to plan more engagement party details. Absolutely, it's time to start dropping some hints about what they're going to miss. Someone talked. Holly burst into my apartment, her face flushed. The Glass Gardens just got a call from your Aunt Caroline asking about available dates. My stomach dropped. How did she find out? I think it was Marcus, the chef. He was doing a morning show interview and mentioned preparing for the wedding of the season at the gardens. He didn't name names, but my aunt is nothing if not thorough when it comes to investigating venues, I finished, sinking onto my couch. My phone buzzed, a text from Nancy. Just heard the most interesting rumour about your wedding plans. Ignore it, Ruby advised, pacing the room. We need to contain this. Holly's phone rang. She glanced at the screen and grimaced. It's the venue manager. They're getting flooded with calls from your family. While Holly stepped away to take the call, Santiago arrived, looking worried. Your mother just called me. She's crying, saying we're trying to compete with Nancy's engagement party. Compete? I laughed bitterly. They're the ones who scheduled their party 2 weeks before our wedding. My phone started ringing. My father this time. Against my better judgment, I answered. Sophia, what's this I hear about the Glass Gardens? His voice was stern. Are you trying to embarrass the family? Embarrass the family, I shot back. Like you're embarrassing me by leaving my wedding early for a cruise. That's different. We made those plans months ago. And I made these plans weeks ago. The difference is I didn't feel the need to announce them to everyone. Your mother is very upset. She thinks you're doing this to spite Nancy. No, Dad. I'm doing this for me and Santiago. The fact that it might overshadow Nancy's engagement party is just, what did you call it? Different. Holly returned, giving me a thumbs up. The venue manager's handling it. They're not confirming any details to anyone not on our approved list. My phone buzzed again. Another text from Nancy. Just tried to book the Glass Gardens for my engagement party. They said they're booked for a major event. Funny coincidence. Ruby grabbed my phone. Let me handle Nancy. You deal with damage control. Santiago sat beside me, taking my hand. Maybe this is good. Now they know what they're missing. Sophia, Holly interrupted, her eyes sparkling. What if we use this to our advantage? I just got a call from that society columnist I know. She wants to do a feature on the mysterious high-profile wedding at the Glass Gardens. I sat up straighter. You think we should confirm the rumours? Not confirm, tease, let the speculation build. Trust me, it'll drive them crazy. My phone kept buzzing with messages from family members. How could you do this to Nancy? Aunt Caroline. We thought you understood our budget concerns. Mum, this is so tacky and competitive. Another cousin Ruby looked up from her phone with a wicked grin. Want to know what I just replied to Nancy? Do I? I just said, guess you'll have to wait and see, using her own passive-aggressive emoji against her. Holly's tablet pinged. The columnist wants a quote about the wedding, something vague but intriguing. I thought for a moment, then smiled. Tell her it's going to be an unforgettable celebration of love and truth. Perfect, Holly typed rapidly. Oh, and that celebrity chef who leaked, he feels terrible. He's offering to add an extra specialty course as an apology. Santiago squeezed my hand. See? Even the setbacks are working in our favour. My phone rang again. My mother. This time I let it go to voicemail. They're all going to be at Nancy's engagement party next week, Ruby mused. Probably talking about nothing but your mystery wedding. Let them talk, I said, feeling surprisingly calm. They wanted to make my wedding an afterthought. Now it's all they can think about. Holly's phone chimed with another message. The Society columnist's piece just went live. Mystery wedding set to outshine season's biggest events. Sources say Glass Gardens preparing for their most spectacular celebration yet. We all huddled around her phone to read the article. It was perfect, just enough details to fuel speculation, but nothing concrete revealed. Your Aunt Caroline just shared it, Ruby reported, scrolling through social media. She added, some people will do anything for attention. I laughed. Says the woman throwing her daughter an engagement party with ice sculptures. Santiago kissed my temple. You okay with all this? I looked around at my support team, Holly efficiently managing the chaos, Ruby defending me in the family group chats, and Santiago standing by me through it all. You know what? I really am. They wanted to make my wedding invisible. Now it's all anyone can talk about. I picked up my phone and finally listened to my mother's voicemail. Sophia, please call us. We need to talk about what you're doing. This isn't like you. I deleted the message without finishing it. She was right about one thing. This wasn't like the old me, and that was exactly the point. The real invitations just went out, Holly announced, bursting into my apartment with a stack of RSVPs. And oh my God, you won't believe who's coming. Ruby looked up from her laptop where she'd been monitoring the family drama. Spill. That award-winning actress I worked with last year, she's in. The mayor and his wife, in. 3 social media influencers with over 1 million followers each, all in. Santiago whistled. How many RSVPs so far? 98 acceptances in the first hour, Holly beamed. The Glass Gardens Instagram followers doubled after people started getting the invitations. My phone buzzed. Another message from Nancy. Just heard someone at my yoga class talking about a huge wedding at the Glass Gardens. Weird that you haven't mentioned anything. Speaking of Nancy, Ruby said, her engagement party is tomorrow night. Are you sure you want to skip it? Oh, absolutely, I replied. Let them wonder why we're too busy to attend. Holly's tablet pinged. Oh, the local news wants to do a segment on upcoming society events. They're featuring Nancy's engagement party and the mysterious Glass Gardens wedding in the same piece. Nancy's going to lose it, Ruby grinned. Right on cue, my mother called. I put her on the speaker. Sophia, please be reasonable. Everyone's talking about this secret wedding. Your Aunt Caroline is beside herself. Nancy's engagement party is tomorrow, and all anyone can discuss is your publicity stunt. Mum, I'm busy with wedding preparations. We can talk later. What preparations? The community centre handles everything, unless... She paused. Sophia, are you really having your wedding at the Glass Gardens? Guess you'll have to wait and see, I replied, channeling Ruby's earlier response to Nancy. Enjoy the engagement party. After hanging up, Holly spread out more RSVPs. The Society columnist who wrote about the wedding, she's coming too, and she wants to do a follow-up piece about the wedding that has the whole city talking. Santiago picked up one of the elegant invitations. These are incredible. The contrast with the basic ones we sent to your family is perfect. About those, Ruby interrupted, showing us her phone. Nancy just posted a photo of her invitation to your simple community centre wedding with the caption, "Supporting family even when they make strange choices." Let her, I said. She has no idea what's coming. Holly's phone rang. It's the Glass Gardens manager again. Apparently, your Aunt Caroline tried to bribe one of their staff members for information. We all burst out laughing. The staff member told her the venue was preparing for their biggest event ever, but couldn't reveal any details due to a confidentiality agreement, Holly continued. She offered to double whatever you're paying them. Did anyone tell her the bride already signed an exclusivity contract? Santiago asked. Nope, they're enjoying the mystery too much. My phone lit up with a text from my father. Your mother can't sleep. She's worried you're going into debt trying to compete with Nancy. Please be sensible. Ruby read the message over my shoulder. Should we tell them you and Santiago have been saving for years while they were busy funding Nancy's life? No, I replied. Let them think what they want. Tomorrow they'll be at Nancy's engagement party with their ice sculptures and hotel banquet food, wondering why we're too busy to attend. Holly's tablet pinged again. The celebrity chef just posted a teaser about the wedding menu on his Instagram. He didn't mention names, but he called it the most ambitious wedding menu I've ever created. Nancy's mother just shared it, Ruby reported, with the caption, "Some people need to remember what weddings are really about." Rich, coming from someone who's throwing an engagement party that costs more than most weddings, Santiago muttered. My phone buzzed with another family message. Please come tomorrow. Nancy's hurt that you're missing her special day. Special day, I scoffed. Like my wedding day isn't special. Holly gathered up the RSVPs. Trust me, after this wedding, no one will remember Nancy's engagement party. The Glass Gardens manager said they've never seen such excitement about an event. And the best part, Ruby added, your family still thinks they're going on their cruise right after your simple ceremony. I picked up one of the real invitations, running my fingers over the embossed details. Let them enjoy Nancy's party tomorrow. Let them gossip about the mystery wedding at the Glass Gardens. In 2 weeks, they'll realise exactly what they chose to miss. To the wedding, they'll never forget, Santiago raised his coffee cup. To the wedding, they'll never forget, we all echoed, as my phone continued to buzz with messages from family members who had no idea what was really coming. The Glass Gardens glowed like a crystal palace as my family pulled into the parking lot, their faces a mixture of shock and disbelief as they took in the line of luxury cars and the red carpet leading to the entrance. There must be some mistake, my mother stammered, clutching her simple purse. Sophia's wedding is at the community centre. Holly appeared at the entrance, clipboard in hand, looking every inch the high-end event planner she was. Welcome, names please. We're the bride's parents, my father said, still staring at the magnificent venue. Ah yes, Mr. and Mrs. Shepherd, please follow me. Holly's smile was professional, but I could see the satisfaction in her eyes. Inside, the transformation was breathtaking. Living flower walls changed colours in sync with the string quartet's music. Celebrity chef Marcus's staff orchestrated a dance of gourmet appetizers through the crowd. Photographers and social media influencers mingled with local celebrities and business leaders. "Is that the mayor?" my Aunt Caroline whispered loudly, clutching Nancy's arm. Nancy, still wearing her engagement party dress from 2 weeks ago, looked like she'd swallowed something sour. But how? Ruby appeared beside them, champagne in hand. "Oh, you haven't seen anything yet. Wait until dinner." I watched from a private room as my family was escorted to their seats, their stunned expressions reflected in the glass ceiling above. Santiago squeezed my hand. Ready? More than ever. The ceremony was everything we'd dreamed of and more. As we exchanged vows under the sunset-painted glass dome, surrounded by cascading flowers and soft music, I caught glimpses of my family's faces. My mother was crying. Whether from emotion or embarrassment, I couldn't tell. My father kept adjusting his collar, looking increasingly uncomfortable. Nancy sat rigid in her seat, her phone forgotten in her lap for once, but it was the reception that truly left them speechless. Chef Marcus unveiled his masterpiece of a menu, each course more spectacular than the last. The chocolate waterfall cake drew gasps and camera flashes from every corner. The headline performer, a famous singer Holly had somehow booked, had everyone on their feet. "Sophia," my mother finally approached me, her voice shaking. "How? Why didn't you tell us?" "Tell you what, Mom, that Santiago and I had been saving for years, that we could afford our dream wedding without help. Would you have believed me, or would you have been too busy planning Nancy's engagement cruise? But the community centre invitations were exactly what you expected from me. The afterthought, the simple wedding you could easily skip for a cruise." My father joined us, looking sheepish. "About the cruise? Don't worry," I smiled sweetly. "I'm sure you'll see plenty of photos on social media. The society columnist is doing a full spread." Aunt Caroline stormed over, her face flushed. This is completely inappropriate, trying to overshadow Nancy's engagement." "Like you tried to overshadow my wedding," I countered. "Besides, I thought you couldn't afford to contribute to wedding expenses right now. Funny how that worked out." Nancy appeared, her perfect makeup slightly smeared. "I can't believe you did this. My engagement party was supposed to be the event of the season." "Oh, honey," Holly interrupted, sliding past with her tablet. "This isn't the event of the season. This is the event of the year. Check your social media." Everyone pulled out their phones. The hashtag was already trending. Photos and videos flooded every platform. The glass gardens, the celebrity guests, the spectacular food. It was everywhere. "Your cruise ship leaves in an hour, doesn't it?" I asked innocently. "Better hurry if you want to make it." My mother's hand trembled as she lowered her phone. "Sophia, we can cancel the cruise." "Don't bother. You made your choice 2 months ago. Besides, we're fully booked with guests who actually wanted to be here." Ruby appeared with a champagne toast. "Time for the bride and groom's first dance. Everyone to the dance floor." As Santiago led me to the centre of the room, under the starlit glass ceiling, I caught one last glimpse of my family. They stood frozen, watching as celebrities, influencers, and distinguished guests filled the dance floor around us. "Think they've learned their lesson?" Santiago whispered as we danced. "Look at their faces," I replied. "They're finally seeing me, really seeing me for the first time." The photographer's flashes lit up the room, capturing what would soon be splashed across social media and local magazines. Not bad for the family afterthought. Nancy's last Instagram post about her engagement party had gotten 200 likes. The first photo from my wedding, posted just minutes ago by a celebrity guest, already had 20,000 and counting. Sometimes karma doesn't just come around. It arrives in spectacular style under a glass ceiling, with a chocolate waterfall cake and a trending hashtag. The morning sun streamed through the glass garden ceiling as the cleaning crew cleared the last traces of our spectacular celebration. I sat at one of the few remaining tables, scrolling through the flood of messages and social media posts. "Your wedding is still trending," Ruby announced, sliding into the seat beside me with 2 coffee cups. "Nancy hasn't posted anything since last night." Holly joined us, her tablet displaying multiple news articles. "The Society columnist piece just went live. Want to hear the headline?" "Mystery Wedding Revealed, the social event that changed everything." My phone buzzed. A text from my mother. "We missed our cruise. Can we talk?" "They actually skipped the cruise." Ruby peered at my screen. "That's unexpected. "We're at the cafe down the street," I texted back, then looked at my friends. "Want to witness one last showdown?" Santiago arrived just as my parents walked into the cafe. They looked tired, dishevelled, very unlike their usual polished selves. "Hi, Mum, Dad, no Nancy or Aunt Caroline." "They took the cruise," my father said quietly. "We couldn't." My mother's hands shook as she clutched her purse. "Why didn't you tell us? About the savings, about the plans?" "Would it have mattered?" I asked. "You were ready to leave my wedding early for a cruise. You dismissed every attempt I made to talk about our plans." "We thought," my father started, then stopped. "We didn't think." "No, you didn't. You were too busy thinking about Nancy's engagement party, Nancy's cruise, Nancy's everything." "The Glass Gardens called this morning," my mother blurted out. "They said you and Santiago booked it months ago, that you paid for everything yourselves." "Unlike Nancy's engagement party," I noted. "How much did that ice sculpture cost, Mum?" She flushed. "Sophia, we're sorry. We've been blind." "Blind? You've been cruel," Ruby interjected. "Do you know how many times Sophia cried over your treatment of her?" Holly's tablet pinged. "Sorry to interrupt, but you might want to see this. Nancy just posted." We all leaned in to read. "Congratulations to my cousin Sophia on her beautiful wedding. I've learned some hard lessons about assumptions and priorities. I'm sorry." "She turned off comments," Ruby observed. "Smart move." My father cleared his throat. "We saw the society column this morning. They called it a masterclass in elegant revenge. Is that what this was? Revenge?" "No," Santiago answered before I could. "This was about Sophia finally doing something for herself without worrying about everyone else's expectations or judgments." "The revenge part was just a bonus," Ruby added with a smirk. My mother wiped her eyes. "We miss so much by focusing on the wrong things. The cruise seemed so important yesterday morning. Funny how priorities can shift," I said, showing them my phone. The wedding photos were everywhere, each one more stunning than the last. "But you know what? I'm glad you stayed. It means you finally made the right choice." "Can we—" My father hesitated. "Can we try to make different choices going forward?" Holly's tablet lit up again. "The Glass Gardens wants to know if they can use your wedding photos in their promotional materials. They're calling it their most successful event ever." I looked at my parents, seeing the regret and hope in their eyes. "Different choices sound good, but no more comparisons with Nancy, no more dismissing my achievements, no more taking me for granted." "No more," they agreed in unison. "And maybe," I added, "we can start with brunch. I hear Chef Marcus makes an amazing brunch spread." "He's actually waiting for us at the gardens," Holly smiled. "Part of your package included a morning after breakfast. I may have saved a few spots." As we walked back to the gardens, my mother touched my arm. "Your wedding, it wasn't just beautiful. It was a statement." "Yes," I agreed, "a statement that I'm not an afterthought, that I never was." The Glass Gardens glowed in the morning light, still magical even without the evening's glamour. Inside, Chef Marcus had created another masterpiece, a brunch spread that would probably end up on social media too. "To new beginnings," Santiago proposed, raising his mimosa. "And better choices," my father added. As we clinked glasses, my phone buzzed one last time. A message from Aunt Caroline. "Nancy's been crying since we boarded the ship, but maybe that's not such a bad thing. Some lessons need tears to be learned." I showed the message to Ruby, who grinned. "Now that's what I call a satisfying ending." "No," I corrected her, watching my parents actually listening as Santiago described our honeymoon plans. "That's what I call a satisfying beginning." The sun streamed through the glass ceiling, casting rainbow patterns across our table. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about getting even. It's about finally being seen, heard, and respected. And sometimes it takes a spectacular wedding to make that happen.
I found out my dream was stolen while eating a microwave burrito in my car. It was a Tuesday. I remember because I always park under the dead oak tree behind the clinic on Tuesdays, less foot traffic. I had just clocked out of a 12-hour shift. My feet were screaming and I was trying to psych myself up to check the IVF fund one more time, just to see it, to remind myself it was real, that after 3 years of ramen dinners, skipped vacations, and selling half my closet on Poshmark, I had finally hit 20,130 I opened the app, entered my password, waited. Balance, 74.19. I blinked, hit refresh, still 74.19. My heart didn't drop, it detonated. I stared at the screen like it was a joke, like maybe the app was glitching. But deep down, I knew. I knew in the same way you know when someone's lying to your face. Cold, immediate, undeniable. My name is Rosalie, and 3 years of my life vanished in a single loading screen. I called the bank, got transferred 3 times. Finally, a woman named Linda told me there had been 2 large withdrawals, $10,000 and $9,800, both authorized by someone listed as a co-owner, my mother. I didn't even know she was on the account. I drove straight to their house, didn't call, didn't think. I was halfway up the front steps before I realized I'd left my burrito on the dashboard, uneaten. The door opened before I knocked. "Rosalie," Mom said, like I'd shown up to borrow sugar. She wore a silk robe and had a glass of wine in hand. It was 4 in the afternoon. "Where's Dad?" I asked. "In the den," she said. "What's wrong?" I pushed past her. "You know what's wrong." Dad was on the couch watching golf. He muted the TV when he saw me. "I want to know why $20,000 is missing from my IVF fund," I said. My voice was steady, too steady, the kind of calm that comes before a storm. He looked at Mom. She took a sip of wine, then sighed like I was being difficult. "We meant to talk to you," she said. "Then talk." "It was for Kaya's wedding," she said, like that explained everything. She needed help with the venue deposit and flights and the dress. I laughed. It wasn't a happy sound. "So you stole it." "We didn't steal anything," Dad said quickly. "We're listed on the account. It's technically a family." "It's my money," I snapped. "I worked for it. I saved every cent. That account was for IVF. You knew that." "You're being dramatic," Mom said. "Kaya's wedding is a once-in-a-lifetime event. You'll have another chance." I stared at her. "You think I can just restart fertility treatments like a Netflix show?" She didn't answer. "Do you know what I put my body through?" I said louder now. "The hormones, the failed cycles, the surgeries, and you, God, you took it for a fish and wedding?" "It wasn't just a wedding," she said. "It's family. You should be happy for your sister." I turned to Dad. "You knew?" He looked down. "We thought we'd pay it back eventually." "When?" I asked. "After the honeymoon? After the baby shower? Oh, wait, that's me. I'm the one who can't have kids." "Don't make this about you," Mom said sharply. I stared at her. It was my money. "You're always so jealous of Kaya," she said. "It's exhausting." That hit harder than anything else. Not the money, not the betrayal. That sentence. I walked out, didn't slam the door, didn't say goodbye, just walked. I sat in my car for a long time. The burrito was cold. I threw it out the window. An hour later, my phone buzzed, a voicemail from Dad. "Rosie, please don't tell anyone. It would ruin everything. Kaya's wedding, it's important. Just let it go. We'll make it right eventually. Please." Eventually. I played it twice. Then I opened my notes app and wrote 3 words. They chose her. And I promised myself that would be the last time they ever did. I didn't cry, not once. Not when I played the voicemail again, not when I checked the bank records 5 more times, not even when I called the clinic and canceled my IVF cycle. I got to work. First, I pulled up every email confirmation from the bank, the ones I'd ignored because I trusted the account was safe. Buried in the fine print, authorized withdrawal of $10,000 initiated by secondary account holder. Then another, $9,800. The dates matched the same week Kaya had posted a photo of a beachfront villa with the caption, "Dreams do come true, Serukaya and Dill forever." I took screenshots, saved them to a folder I titled Truth. Next, I logged into my cloud drive and uploaded copies of the bank statements, the voicemail, and every monthly deposit I'd made into that account. 3 years of sacrifice in black and white, my name on every line. I stared at the screen, then I texted, "Zella." Me. "You busy?" Zella. "Always. What's up?" Me. "I need to tell you something. It's bad." Zella. "Wine or whiskey?" Me. "Both." She showed up 20 minutes later with a bottle in each hand and a face that said she was ready to commit a felony on my behalf. I told her everything. When I finished, she was quiet for a second. Then she said, "That's not just betrayal, that's theft." "Technically, they're on the account," I said. "Technically, my boss is on the office Keurig, but if he drinks my last pod, I'll still key his car." I laughed. First time in days. "You're not crazy," she said. "You're not jealous. You're not overreacting. This is war." I nodded. Then I need ammo. That weekend, I went to the family brunch. It was at some overpriced bistro downtown. Kaya had rented out the private room and decorated it like a Pinterest board exploded. Rose gold everything, custom name cards, a neon sign that said "Bride Vibes." I walked in like nothing was wrong. Mom air kissed me. "Rosalie, you look tired. Are you eating enough?" "Plenty," I said, smiling tightly. Kaya floated over in a white romper and heels that probably cost more than my rent. "So glad you came. We were just talking about the bachelorette trip. We're thinking Bora Bora." "Sounds expensive," I said. She laughed like I'd told a joke. "Luckily, I got the best parents in the world." I glanced at Mom. Her smile twitched. The waiter brought mimosas. Kaya stood up, clinking her glass. "I just want to take a moment to thank Mom and Dad," she said, eyes shining, "for making this wedding everything I ever dreamed of. I'm so lucky to have you." Everyone clapped. I didn't. Dad looked at me, briefly, then away. After brunch, while everyone was taking selfies in front of the neon sign, I slipped away, found the den, the office, the place I used to do homework while Kaya had dance recitals and cheer tryouts. Dad's desk was unlocked. He never changed. I opened the bottom drawer and found it, a leather-bound ledger. He still kept paper records, old school. I flipped through until I found it. 2011, Rosalie's College Fund, $12,000 transfer to Kaya, student loan payoff. I stared at the page, then snapped a photo. 12 years ago. I dropped out after one semester, thinking I couldn't afford it. They told me the fund had been used for house repairs. I walked out of that house with a smile on my face and fire in my chest. Later that night, Zella and I sat on my couch, wine glasses in hand, laptop open. "You've got receipts," she said, "literal receipts." "Yeah, now what?" I scrolled through the folder. "Now I stopped playing nice." She raised her glass. "To revenge." I clinked mine against hers. "To truth." My phone buzzed. A text from Kaya. "Hey, can you Venmo me $80 for the brunch? Forgot to split the bill." I stared at it. Then I sent back one word. No. The reconciliation lunch was held at my parents' house, which already told me everything I needed to know. I showed up anyway. Mom opened the door like she was hosting a garden party. "Rosalie," she said, all syrup and smiles, "we're so glad you came." Dad stood awkwardly in the foyer, hands tucked into his pockets. Kaya was perched at the dining table like a smug little bird, sipping iced tea with a straw and scrolling through her phone. "Let's sit," Mom said, gesturing toward the table like a maitre d'. I sat at the far end. No one offered me a drink. "So," Kaya said, tucking her phone away, "we just wanted to clear the air. There's been tension." "You stole from me," I said flatly. Dad winced. Mom gave a tight smile. "Rosalie, let's not use inflammatory language." "What should I call it then? A donation I didn't know I made?" Kaya rolled her eyes. "God, you're still on this?" "Yes," I snapped, "because it was my IVF fund, my future, and you used it to pay for a fucking flower wall." "It was more than that," Mom said. "It was a family decision." "No," I said. "It was your decision, and you made it without me." Dad cleared his throat. "We're here to apologize." "Go ahead." He looked at Mom. She gave him a nod like she was feeding him his lines. "We're sorry," he said. "We didn't mean to hurt you." "That's it?" I asked. Kaya leaned forward. "Look, I get that you're upset, but this wedding is a huge deal. It's not just about me. It's about our whole family. You could have been part of it, but instead you're making it all about you." I stared at her. "You're welcome." She blinked. "What?" "For your dream wedding. You're welcome." "Oh my God," she said, laughing. "You're so bitter. You've always been bitter." "Enough," Mom said sharply. "This isn't helping." I turned to her. "You knew I was saving for IVF. You knew how hard I worked, and you didn't even ask." "We didn't think you'd go through with it," she said. "You're not even dating anyone." "I don't need a man to want a child." She tilted her head. "You're not a mother. You wouldn't understand doing everything for your children." The silence after that was loud. I stood up. "You know what? You're right. I'm not a mother, but apparently neither are you." Dad stood too. "Rosie, please." I pulled my phone from my pocket and tapped the screen. "I recorded this, by the way." Mom's smile cracked. "What?" "This whole conversation, just in case I need to remind myself how little I matter to this family." Kaya scoffed. "You're so dramatic." I walked to the door. "And you're so predictable." As I opened it, Mom called after me. "What are you going to do with that recording?" I turned back. "Whatever I want." That night, I uploaded the audio file to the truth folder. Then I called an old college friend, Leah, who worked at a small law firm downtown. "I need some advice," I said. We met the next day in her office. I laid it all out, every document, every transfer, every receipt. She flipped through the pages, eyebrows raised. "They were listed as co-owners?" "Yeah, I didn't even know." She nodded. "It complicates things, but not fatally. If you can prove they used the funds for something outside the agreed purpose, especially without your consent, you might have a civil case." "Like what? Small claims?" "Possibly, or misappropriation of funds. Depends on how far you want to take it." I leaned back. "I don't want money. I want the truth out." She tapped the folder. "You got a case, but more than that, you've got evidence. That's power." I left her office and sat in my car staring at the dashboard. Then I opened my phone and renamed the folder Operation Truth. Later that week, Kaya posted a photo of her wedding dress. Caption, "She said yes to the dress. Thanks to my amazing parents for making dreams come true." I screenshotted it, added it to the folder. Then I opened my voice memo app and hit record. "This is Rosalie, and this is the story of how my family stole my future to pay for a wedding. Let's begin." I hadn't seen Jonah in 6 years. He messaged me out of nowhere after I posted a photo of the ocean with no caption. It wasn't subtle. I'd driven to the coast after work just to breathe something that didn't smell like antiseptic or betrayal. I guess he still followed me. "Jonah, That view looks familiar. Me. Still your favorite spot. Jonah. You still drink your coffee black and your revenge ice cold? I laughed. First real one in days. We met up at a dive bar on the edge of town, the kind with sticky tables, cheap beer, and a jukebox that only played blues or heartbreak. He looked the same, a little older, more beard, same crooked smile. Rosie, he said, pulling me into a hug, you look like you're about to burn down a village. Maybe just a wedding, I said. We sat in a booth in the corner away from the noise. I told him everything, the savings, the theft, the brunch, the recording. He didn't interrupt, just listened, eyes locked on mine. When I finished, he leaned back. Damn. Yeah. They always favored Kaya, huh? I nodded. Since birth. I remember that time in high school, he said. You got into that writing camp in Chicago, and your mom said it was too far. But 2 weeks later, Kaya got flown to L.A. for a modeling audition. I blinked. You remember that? Of course I do. You cried in my car for an hour. I looked down at my drink. I used to think if I just worked hard enough, they'd notice me, like really see me. He was quiet for a second. They don't deserve you. I shook my head. It's not about that anymore. It's about what they took. He leaned in. Just promise me something. What? When you burn their world down, make sure you're ready to walk through the ashes. I didn't answer. The next day, I visited my old childhood bedroom. It still smelled like lemon cleaner and disappointment. I was digging through boxes when I heard a knock. I opened the door to find Hannah, my cousin from Mom's side. We hadn't talked in years. Hey, she said, glancing around like she'd been followed. Can we talk? We sat on the porch steps. I saw your post, she said, the one with the waves. I raised an eyebrow. That's what brought you here? She hesitated. No, I've been meaning to reach out. There's something you need to know. I waited. Your mom took out a second mortgage years ago, in your name. I blinked. What? She used your info, said it was for family renovations. My dad helped her with the paperwork. He felt guilty for years. I felt the air leave my lungs. How much? About 20 grand. Paid off last year. Guess how? My stomach turned. The IVF fund. She nodded. That's fraud, I said. I know. I stared at the street. Why are you telling me this? Because I've watched them do this to you your whole life, and I'm done pretending it's normal. I swallowed hard. Thank you. She stood. Also, Dylan? What about him? He's not who he says he is. I narrowed my eyes. Explain. I used to work at a PR firm in Austin. We had a client, Whitney Henry. She was engaged to a guy named Dylan. Same last name, same face. The wedding got called off, quietly. But there were rumors. What kind of rumors? Domestic stuff, money stuff. She moved states to get away from him. My pulse kicked up. Do you have her info? She pulled out a card. She's willing to talk. She said if you called, she'd pick up. I took the card. Why are you really helping me? Hannah looked at me, eyes sharp. Because if you don't stop them, they'll keep doing it. And one day it'll be someone who can't recover. She walked away without another word. That night I called Whitney. She answered on the second ring. Hello? Hi, my name's Rosalie. I think we have a Dylan in common. Silence. Then, I was wondering when someone would call. We talked for an hour. She told me about the gaslighting, the control, the way he used money to isolate her. Then she sent me an audio file, him screaming at her over a credit card charge. It made my skin crawl. Would you be willing to share this? I asked. Under one condition, she said. I want to be there when it happens. When what happens? When you destroy him. I smiled. You free next weekend? She laughed. I'll buy a dress. I added her file to the truth folder. Then I opened a blank document and typed, Wedding Toast Draft. Thank you all for coming. Let's talk about what love really looks like. The cafe was quiet, the kind of place with chipped mugs and faded menus. Hannah sat across from me, stirring her coffee like she was trying to dissolve a secret. I pulled the deed records, she said, sliding a folder across the table. It's all there. The second mortgage was filed under your name. Signature's forged, but it passed because your mom had access to your social. I opened the folder. My name, my fake signature, my future sold off like a pawn ticket. She used it to pay off the first loan, Hannah continued, the one she took out when Kaya dropped out of grad school. I looked up. Wait, what loan? She said it was for emergency expenses. My dad co-signed, but the money went straight to Kaya's tuition and apartment. I closed the folder. So I've been funding her life since she was 20. Hannah nodded, and she has no idea. I leaned back in the booth, heart pounding. This wedding isn't just a wedding, it's a cover-up. Exactly. I pulled out my phone and added the deed photos to the truth folder. Then I texted Zella. Me. We need to meet tonight. Bring your laptop. Zella showed up with her laptop, a bottle of wine, and a look that said she was ready to commit a felony. I laid everything out. The mortgage, the tuition, the forged signature. She whistled. Your mom's got bigger balls than I thought. She's been playing puppet master for years, I said. Kaya's just the doll. Zella started typing. We need visuals, a timeline, receipts, bank statements, photos. If we're going to do this, it needs to be cleaned. We're doing it at the wedding. She looked up. You're serious? I'm giving a toast. She grinned. God, I love you. We worked until 2 a.m., building a slideshow. First slide, a photo of me and Kaya as kids. She's in a princess dress. I'm in hand-me-downs. Then the bank transfers, the forged mortgage, the voicemail from Dad, and finally the audio clip from Whitney. The last slide was simple. This is what love really looks like. The next day I met Whitney at a diner off the highway. She wore sunglasses and a leather jacket like she expected paparazzi. I'm not doing this for you, she said, stirring her tea. I'm doing it because no one warned me. I get it. She slid me a USB. That's everything. Emails, texts, the audio. Use whatever you want. You sure? She nodded. He doesn't get to keep doing this. I hesitated. What happened after you left him? I started over, different city, changed my number, but I still check his name every few months just in case. I swallowed. You're brave. She laughed. No, I'm just tired. I reached into my bag and pulled out an invitation. You're my +1. She raised an eyebrow. You're bringing me to the wedding? Front row. She smiled. Then I'll wear red. That night Jonah came over. He watched the slideshow without saying a word. When it ended, he looked at me. This is going to blow up everything. I know. He leaned forward. And what happens after? I don't know. He nodded slowly. You're not doing this for revenge anymore, are you? No, I said. I'm doing it so the next time they lie, they choke on it. He stood up, walked over, and pulled me into a hug. You're not alone, he said into my hair. I held on to him a little longer than I meant to. The wedding was 3 days away. I scheduled the slideshow to auto-upload to a public link 2 hours after the toast. I backed it up on 3 drives. One went to Zella, one to Jonah, one to a safety deposit box. I printed out a transcript of my toast and folded it into my clutch. Then I looked in the mirror and said out loud, They don't get to write the ending. My phone buzzed, a message from Kaya. Can't wait to see you this weekend, sis. So glad we're all good now. I stared at it. Then I smiled, cheered me. Wouldn't miss it for the world. The wedding venue looked like something out of a luxury magazine. White roses, gold chairs, glass chandeliers dangling from a tent that probably cost more than my car. Servers floated around with trays of champagne, and every guest had a custom monogram fan because the bride doesn't sweat, she glows. I walked in with Whitney by my side, both of us in black. You sure about this? She asked, adjusting her sunglasses. Too late to back out now, I said, scanning the crowd. Besides, you look like vengeance. She smirked. You look like karma. Zella met us near the bar wearing a navy jumpsuit and a grin that could slice glass. Everything's uploaded, she said, handing me a flash drive. Fail-safe's in place. Dropbox link goes live at 6:45. That gives you enough time to toast, mic drop, and exit before the fireworks. Literal fireworks? Apparently, Kaya's finale is a drone light show spelling out forever starts now. I blinked. God help us. Jonah arrived 10 minutes later, suit pressed, hair slicked back. He handed me a small envelope. What's this? Letter from your lawyer friend, he said, just in case they try to spin this as slander. I tucked it into my clutch. Thanks for coming. He looked at me. Wouldn't miss it for the world. I took a deep breath and stepped into the sea of pastel dresses and fake smiles. Mom spotted me first. Rosalie, she said, gliding over in a champagne-colored gown. You came. I said I would. She touched my arm like everything was fine. I'm so glad you've let things go. Family's too important to hold grudges. I smiled. You're right. Family is everything. Her eyes narrowed just a touch, like she sensed something off. Then Kaya appeared, practically floating in her lace gown. Rosie, she squealed, hugging me like we were best friends. You look amazing. So do you, I said. This is a lot. Go big or go home, right? She laughed. I'm just so happy you're here. I told Mom you'd come around. I looked her straight in the eye. Wouldn't miss it. The ceremony started late, of course. Kaya made her entrance to a string quartet version of Beyoncé's Halo. Dylan stood at the altar in a white tux, grinning like he owned the world. They exchanged vows that sounded like Instagram captions, kissed dramatically, and walked back down the aisle to applause and bubbles. Then came the reception. I ate nothing, drank water, smiled at people I didn't recognize, waited. At 6:30, the DJ tapped the mic. All right, everyone, time for a few words from our lovely maid of honor, Rosalie. I stood slowly, heart pounding, and walked to the stage. Mom clapped. Dad looked relieved. Kaya beamed, hand in Dylan's. I took the mic. Hi, everyone, I said, voice steady. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Rosalie, Kaya's older sister. Polite applause. I wasn't always sure I'd be standing up here. We've had our ups and downs like any family. But today, I want to talk about love. I paused, looked around the room. Love is sacrifice. It's choosing someone else's happiness, even when it costs you. It's honesty, loyalty, protecting the people you care about. I glanced at Kaya, and sometimes love is letting go. I reached into my clutch and pulled out a small remote. Before I go on, I'd like to share something. The screen behind me lit up. Slide 1, a photo of me and Kaya as kids. Slide 2, a screenshot of the bank account, 2,130 Slide 3, the withdrawals, the dates, the names. A ripple went through the room. Slide 4, the voicemail from Dad. His voice played over the speakers. Rosie, please don't tell anyone. It would ruin everything. gasps, murmurs. Slide 5, the forged mortgage document. Slide 6, Dylan's audio, his voice angry, cruel. You think I need you? I made you. I'll ruin you if you leave. Whitney stood up slowly, removing her sunglasses. Kaya's face drained of color. Dylan stood, fists clenched. Mom bolted from her seat. Turn it off! I looked at her. Why? You always said I was too quiet. The final slide appeared. This is what love really looks like. The room was silent, then chaos. Dylan stormed out, shouting at someone on the phone. Kaya burst into tears. Mom lunged toward the stage, but Jonah stepped in front of her. Don't, he said calmly. Cameras flashed, guests whispered. Someone live-streamed it. Dad sat frozen, hands in his lap. I stepped down from the stage. Mom grabbed my arm. You'll regret this. I looked her dead in the eyes. Not as much as you made me regret being your daughter. I walked past Kaya, who was sobbing into her bouquet. Congrats, I said. You finally got the attention you always wanted. Then I walked out into the night, the sound of drone motors buzzing behind me, spelling out a lie in the sky. People say silence is peaceful. They've never walked through the kind that follows a bomb. I stood just outside the tent, the night air thick with tension. Inside, the wedding had collapsed into chaos. The string quartet had stopped playing. The caterers looked like they wanted to disappear. Guests whispered in tight little circles, eyes darting toward Kaya, who sat crumpled in a chair, mascara streaking down her face. Zella joined me outside, phone in hand. The link's live, already getting shared. How bad is it? She turned the screen toward me. Comments were pouring in under the video. This is insane. I'd sue my parents into the ground. That sister is a legend. Kaya's a whole villain. I took a breath. It's done. Not yet, she said. Look. We turned. Mom was storming toward me, heels digging into the grass like she was about to bury someone. You smug little, she hissed. Jonah stepped between us again, calm as ever. Don't. She glared at him, then back at me. You've ruined everything. No, I said. I revealed it. You humiliated your sister on the most important day of her life. She humiliated herself when she spent my future on a flower wall. Dad jogged up behind her, panting. We need to go. People are filming. Mom spun on him. Do something. He looked at me, then the crowd, then back at her. And for once he didn't say a word. She turned back to me. You think this makes you better than us? No, I said, just free. Security showed up. One of the venue managers whispered something to them and pointed at my parents. A second later, they were being escorted off the property. Kaya didn't move. She just sat there, frozen, staring at the screen where her perfect life had shattered. Whitney walked up beside her, quiet, calm. She looked down at Kaya. I hope you make better choices than I did, she said, then turned and walked away. Jonah touched my arm. You okay? I nodded once. Yeah. Inside, the DJ tried to salvage the night with some soft jazz. A few guests drifted toward the bar, unsure of whether to stay or run. I walked back into the tent. Kaya finally looked up. Her voice cracked. Why would you do this? I crouched beside her. Because I begged for years to be seen, and no one looked. You could have just talked to me. I did. You weren't listening. She wiped her face with a napkin. Dylan's gone. Good. I loved him. I stood. Then maybe now you'll learn what real love looks like? She didn't answer. I turned to leave, but she grabbed my wrist. Wait, she said. Is it all true? The mortgage? The money? I looked her in the eyes. Every word. She let go. I walked out of the tent for the last time. The next morning it was everywhere. The video had gone viral overnight. Brutal wedding toast exposes family lies was trending. A gossip blog picked it up, then a feminist podcast, then a legal TikTok creator who broke down the mortgage fraud in a 3-part series. Dylan's company issued a statement by noon. We have severed all ties. Kaya posted a black square with white text. Taking time to heal. Please respect my privacy. Mom deleted her Facebook. Dad's LinkedIn vanished. My phone buzzed nonstop. Calls, texts, interview requests. I ignored them all. Jonah showed up at my door with bagels and coffee. You're famous, he said, handing me a cup. I didn't want fame. I know. We sat on my couch, the news playing in the background. A panel of strangers debated whether I was a hero or a monster. Jonah turned it off. They don't matter. I know. He looked at me. So what now? I pulled out a small envelope from the coffee table. I'm going to the clinic. He blinked. You're still doing IVF? I shook my head. No, I'm donating the rest of the fund. There's a woman on the wait list. Single mom, 2 failed cycles. She's next in line. Jonah smiled. That's beautiful. It's not forgiveness, I said. It's closure. He nodded. You're free now. I took a sip of coffee and looked out the window. Yeah, I said. I really am. The clinic smelled like lavender and antiseptic. Soft music played overhead, something instrumental and hopeful. A receptionist looked up from her screen as I approached the front desk. Hi, can I help you? I nodded, holding out the envelope. I'd like to make a donation for IVF assistance. I was told there's a woman on the wait list who's been trying for a while. She took the envelope, opened it, and blinked. This is a lot. 20,000, I said. Every cent I saved. She looked stunned. Do you want to remain anonymous? No, I said. She should know it came from someone who understands. The receptionist smiled, eyes soft. I'll make sure she knows she's not alone. I nodded and turned to leave. Out in the parking lot, the sun was warm, not blinding, just enough to feel real. Jonah waited by my car, leaning against the door, arms crossed. You did it? Yeah. He opened the passenger side and slid in. Want to drive? I started the engine. Where to? Anywhere but here. We ended up at the beach, the same one I'd driven to the day I found out my account was empty, only now I wasn't hollow, just lighter. We walked along the shoreline, shoes in hand, waves licking at our ankles. So, he said, what does life look like now? I shrugged. Quiet, honest, mine. He looked over. You ever think about trying again, the baby thing? I paused. I think about it. I just don't want to chase something out of grief anymore. He nodded. That makes sense. We sat in the sand watching the tide roll in. My phone buzzed. A message from Hannah. Hannah. Kaya's staying with a friend. She's not talking to Mom or Dad. Just thought you should know. I showed Jonah the screen. She'll be okay, he said. I hope so. He looked at me. You don't hate her, do you? I shook my head. No, I just finally stopped needing her to love me the way I wanted. He nudged my shoulder. You're kind of incredible. You know that? I smiled. Took me a while to believe it. A little girl ran past us, chasing a kite. Her mom followed, laughing, arms outstretched. I watched them for a moment, then stood. Come on, I said. Let's get ice cream. Jonah raised an eyebrow. You? Yeah, I think I'm allowed to want something sweet now. We walked toward the boardwalk, the wind picking up, the past finally behind me. Not erased, not forgotten, just done.
The gold foil lettering on the invitation mocked me as I traced my finger over the embossed names. Hallie and Stefan. The ampersand between their names felt like a knife twisting in my gut. I should have thrown it away the moment it arrived. Instead, I'd kept it on my kitchen counter for weeks, letting it taunt me every morning as I made coffee. Some masochistic part of me needed the daily reminder of what I'd lost. "You're sure about this, Lexi?" Fatima's voice crackled through my phone speaker as I applied mascara, my hand trembling slightly. "Nobody would blame you for backing out." "I'm not backing out." I steadied my wrist, determined not to smudge. "I've been planning this for months." What I didn't tell Fatima was that I wasn't actually invited as a guest. No, Hallie had asked me to coordinate her wedding. My best friend of 15 years was marrying my ex-fiancé and wanted me to make sure their special day went perfectly, and I'd said yes. The autumn air bit at my cheeks as I stepped out of my car at the Rosewood estate. October in New England painted the landscape in fiery oranges and reds that matched the slow burn of rage I'd been nursing. The venue was stunning, a historic mansion with sprawling gardens that Hallie had always dreamed of. I knew because we'd planned our fantasy weddings together since college. I clutched my event planner binder to my chest like armor and marched toward the service entrance. Staff bustled around, arranging flowers and adjusting table settings. No one questioned my presence. I belonged here, just not in the way I'd once imagined. "Lexi, thank God you're here." Nicole appeared beside me, her event coordinator badge matching mine. We'd worked together at several functions before, but she had no idea about my history with the happy couple. "The florist delivered peonies instead of garden roses, and the bride is about to have a meltdown." "Where is she?" I asked, my voice impressively steady. "Bridal suite, second floor, but fair warning, she's on edge." I nodded and headed for the stairs, each step heavier than the last. This was the moment I'd rehearsed countless times in my head, but nothing prepared me for the reality of it. The door to the bridal suite was cracked open. I could hear Hallie's voice before I saw her. "I don't care what it takes, just fix it. This is my wedding day." I knocked softly and pushed the door open. And there she was, my former best friend, wrapped in a silk robe, her dark hair half-styled, looking exactly like the bride I'd once imagined being. Her eyes met mine in the mirror, and for a split second, I caught something there. Guilt, maybe? It vanished so quickly I might have imagined it. "Lexi, finally." She turned, arms outstretched, as if we were still the same friends who had once promised to be each other's maids of honor. "The flowers are all wrong. Can you handle it?" I forced a smile. "Already on it." "You're a lifesaver." She squeezed my arm. "I knew I could count on you." The casual confidence in her voice made my stomach turn. Of course she could count on me. That's what made her betrayal so perfect. She knew I'd never let her down, even after she'd shattered my world. "How's Stefan?" I asked, unable to help myself. Her expression softened. Nervous. You know how he gets. I did know. I knew how he hummed when he was anxious, how he always loosened his tie when he felt trapped, how his eyes crinkled at the corners when he smiled genuinely. I knew because for 3 years I'd thought he was going to be my husband, until he disappeared 6 months before our wedding. No explanation, no goodbye, just gone. And then 4 months later, the announcement: Hallie and Stefan were engaged. "I should check on the flowers," I said, backing toward the door. "Wait." Hallie called me back. "I wanted to thank you again for doing this. I know it's complicated." Complicated. As if that word could possibly contain the magnitude of her betrayal. "It's fine," I lied. "What are friends for?" I escaped before she could respond and leaned against the hallway wall, drawing in a shaky breath. I could do this. I had to do this. My phone buzzed with a text. Unknown number. "Did you really think you'd be on the guest list? Some best friend you must have been." I stared at the screen, my heart hammering. Who would send this? I scrolled through the wedding party list in my mind, trying to identify who might know about my history with the couple. Before I could process it, another text came through. "Check the groom's jacket pocket, left side. You'll find something interesting." I glanced down the hallway toward the groom's suite. Stefan was in there, probably adjusting his cufflinks in that meticulous way he had. The man who'd vanished from my life without explanation. The man who'd moved on to my best friend without remorse. The man who still had no idea what I'd discovered about him and Hallie. My phone buzzed again. "Don't you want to know why he really left you?" My hands trembled as I tucked my phone away. The florist crisis could wait. I had a different emergency to attend to now, one that might finally give me the answers I'd been denied for over a year. And if what I suspected was true, this wedding was about to become memorable for all the wrong reasons. I stood outside the groom's suite, my heart hammering against my ribs. The door was ajar, voices drifting out. Stefan wasn't alone. I pressed myself against the wall, straining to listen. "You're sure she doesn't suspect anything?" A male voice I didn't recognize. "Lexi?" Stefan's laugh was dismissive in a way I'd never heard before. "She's too busy playing wedding coordinator to notice what's really going on." My fingers curled into fists, nails digging into my palms. The physical pain was almost a relief compared to the ache spreading through my chest. "And Hallie's cool with her being here?" the other voice asked. "It was Hallie's idea," Stefan replied. "Said it would be poetic justice or something. Women, right?" Their laughter faded as they moved deeper into the room. I waited until I heard the bathroom door close and water running before I slipped inside. The suite was a mirror image of the bridal room. Plush furniture, champagne on ice, garment bags hanging from a rack. Stefan's tuxedo jacket was draped over a chair, carelessly tossed aside like so many promises. I glanced at the bathroom door. The shower was running now. I had minutes, maybe seconds, maybe... My hands trembled as I reached for his jacket. "Left pocket," the text had said. I slid my fingers in, feeling nothing but fabric. Then my fingertips brushed against something in the inner breast pocket instead. A small velvet box. A ring box. My stomach dropped. Was this some sick joke? Another engagement ring when he was hours from marrying my best friend? I flipped it open, expecting a diamond. Instead, I found a simple gold band with an inscription inside. "Forever yours, H." Not a new engagement ring. A wedding band. But the inscription, it wasn't new. The gold showed signs of wear, tiny scratches along the edges. This wasn't something he'd just purchased. The water shut off abruptly. I snapped the box closed and shoved it back in the pocket, my mind racing. I needed to get out, now. I slipped out just as the bathroom door opened, ducking behind a large floral arrangement in the hallway. My phone buzzed again. "Now you know. They've been together longer than you think." I stared at the message, pieces clicking into place. The mysterious business trips. The weekends when Hallie was visiting her sister. The way they'd announced their engagement so quickly after Stefan left me. This wasn't a whirlwind romance born after our breakup. This was an affair that had been going on right under my nose. "Lexi, what are you doing up here?" Nicole's voice made me jump. "The florist is downstairs having a meltdown about the centerpieces." I forced my features into what I hoped was a neutral expression. "Just checking on the groom's party, making sure everything's on schedule." Nicole raised an eyebrow but didn't push. "Well, when you're done stalking your ex, we have actual fires to put out downstairs." "I'm not stalking..." I stopped myself. Nicole didn't know my history with Stefan and Hallie. To her, I was just another wedding coordinator. "I'll be right down." As I followed her downstairs, my mind raced with implications. That ring wasn't new. How long had they been together behind my back? Months? Years? The florist crisis was real but manageable. White peonies instead of blush garden roses. I handled it on autopilot, my thoughts elsewhere. Each smile I forced felt like it might crack my face. Each no problem I uttered was a lie. I was arranging the seating chart when I felt someone watching me. I looked up to find Stefan standing in the doorway, his groomsman laughing behind him. "Lexi," he said, his voice softer than it had been upstairs. "Can we talk? Alone?" The groomsmen exchanged glances, clearly aware of who I was. How much did they know? How long had I been the punchline of their jokes? "I'm working," I replied, my voice steady despite the earthquake happening inside me. "Please. 5 minutes." I set down my clipboard. "Fine. 5 minutes." We stepped into a small alcove off the main hall, close enough to hear the bustle of wedding preparations. far enough that no one would overhear us. "I just wanted to say thank you," he began, "for doing this, for Hallie." "Not for you?" I couldn't help myself. His eyes, those warm brown eyes I'd once thought I'd wake up to for the rest of my life, couldn't meet mine. "I know how this looks." "Do you?" I asked. "Because from where I'm standing, it looks like my fiancé and my best friend were having an affair behind my back. And now I'm coordinating their wedding." He flinched. "It wasn't like that." "Then what was it like, Stefan? Enlighten me." "Things between us weren't working." "So you discuss it with me," I hissed, keeping my voice low. "You don't disappear and then pop up engaged to my best friend." His jaw tightened. "I handled it badly. I know that." "How long?" I asked, the question that had been burning inside me since I saw that worn gold band. "What? How long were you two together before you left me?" Something flickered across his face. Guilt, maybe, or fear. "Lexi, today isn't the day." "How long?" Each word was a bullet. 8 months, he finally admitted. 8 months, while I was picking out wedding venues, while Hallie was helping me choose my dress, while we were all having dinner together, laughing, planning our futures. "I have to get back to work," I said, my voice hollow. "Your bride is waiting." As I turned to leave, he caught my wrist. "Lexi, wait. There's something you should know about Hallie." "Save it." I pulled my arm away. "I'm just the wedding coordinator, remember? Your relationship drama isn't my concern anymore." I walked away, my legs somehow supporting me despite feeling like they might dissolve beneath me. In my pocket, my phone buzzed again. Ready for the next revelation? Check Hallie's wedding planner, the one with the pink cover. Page 43. I didn't know who was sending these messages, but they were leading me down a rabbit hole I couldn't turn away from. And page 43 was about to show me how deep this betrayal really went. Hallie's wedding planner was in her bridal suite, the same pink leather-bound book she'd carried everywhere since getting engaged. I remembered teasing her about it months ago, back when I still thought we were friends. Back when I didn't know she'd been sleeping with my fiancé for 8 months while helping me plan my own wedding to him. I needed a reason to go back upstairs. The champagne. I grabbed a fresh bottle from the catering supply and headed up, rehearsing excuses in my head. The bridal suite was empty when I arrived. Hallie was probably getting her photos taken in the garden. Perfect. I set down the champagne and scanned the room. The planner sat on the vanity, surrounded by makeup brushes and hairspray. My hands shook as I flipped to page 43. It was a budget page, columns of numbers and notes in Hallie's looping handwriting. Nothing seemed unusual until I noticed an entry labeled insurance policy with a payment of $5,000 to someone named Truman. Truman, the wedding DJ? I checked the vendor list in my coordinator binder. Truman Hunter was indeed listed as tonight's entertainment. What kind of insurance policy costs $5,000 and involves the DJ? I snapped a photo of the page with my phone just as voices approached in the hallway. I quickly closed the planner and busied myself arranging the champagne glasses. "Just need a minute to freshen up," Hallie was saying as she entered. She stopped short when she saw me. "Lexi, what are you doing here?" I held up the champagne bottle. "Thought you might need a refill before the ceremony." Her eyes narrowed slightly, then softened into a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Always so thoughtful. The bridesmaids filed in behind her, a flutter of pastel dresses and nervous energy. I recognized most of them. Women who'd once been my friends too. They avoided looking directly at me. "Everything's on schedule," I said professionally. "Ceremony starts in 40 minutes. Perfect." Hallie sat at the vanity, directly in front of her planner. "Oh, did you talk to Stefan? He mentioned he was looking for you." The casual way she said his name, my ex-fiancé, her soon-to-be husband, made my stomach clench. Briefly. "Good." She smiled at me in the mirror. "I'm so glad we can all be adults about this." The bridesmaids exchanged uncomfortable glances. They knew. Everyone knew what had happened except me, apparently. "Of course," I replied, matching her tone. "What are friends for?" As I turned to leave, Hallie called after me. "Lexi, can you make sure the DJ has the correct version of our first dance song? It's At Last by Etta James, But the remastered recording, not the original. The DJ, Truman, the insurance policy. I'll handle it personally, I promised. I found Truman setting up in the ballroom, a tall man with a closely cropped beard and headphones around his neck. He looked up as I approached. "You must be Lexi," he said before I could introduce myself, "the coordinator." Something in his tone made me pause. "That's right, and you're Truman. In the flesh." He continued adjusting his equipment. "What can I do for you?" "Just confirming the first dance song. At last, the remastered version." "Got it right here." He tapped his laptop. "Anything else?" I hesitated, then decided to take a risk. "Actually, I was wondering about the insurance policy." His hands froze over the soundboard. Just for a second, but long enough to confirm my suspicion. "Don't know what you're talking about." $5,000 is a lot for a wedding DJ, I said quietly, even one providing extra services. Truman straightened, looking at me properly for the first time. "Look, I'm just here to play music. Whatever you think you know." "I don't know anything," I interrupted. "Yet, but I'd like to." He glanced around to make sure we were alone. "This isn't a conversation we should have here." "Then where?" "Meet me by the service entrance in 20 minutes. He turned back to his equipment, effectively dismissing me. I walked away, my mind racing. What had I stumbled into? Whatever insurance policy Hallie had purchased from Truman, it wasn't about music. I was checking the ceremony site when Nicole appeared beside me. "Everything okay?" she asked. "You seem distracted." "I'm fine," I lied. "Bullshit." She folded her arms. "I've worked with you on 3 events, Lexi. You're the most focused person I know. Today, you're all over the place." I hesitated. I barely knew Nicole, but I desperately needed someone to talk to. "The bride and groom," I said finally. "They were together while he was engaged to me." Nicole's eyes widened. "Holy shit, and you're still working their wedding? That's either incredibly professional or completely insane." "Probably both." I attempted a smile that felt more like a grimace. "Why put yourself through this?" she asked. I thought about the mysterious texts, the worn wedding band, the insurance policy. "I need answers." Nicole studied me for a moment. "Whatever you're planning, be careful. Revenge has a way of backfiring." "I'm not planning anything," I said automatically. "Right." She clearly didn't believe me. "Well, if you need backup, let me know. I've always had a soft spot for righteous vengeance." I stared at her, surprised. "Why would you help me? You don't even know me." "Let's just say I've been where you are." Something dark flashed in her eyes. And I wish someone had been in my corner. Before I could respond, my phone buzzed with another text. "Don't trust Truman. He's working both sides. Check the garden shed instead, east side of the property. Go now." I looked up at Nicole, a decision crystallizing in my mind. "Actually, there is something you could help me with." "Name it." "Cover for me for 15 minutes. I need to check something in the garden." Nicole nodded. "Go, I've got this." As I slipped away toward the garden, I realized I'd just gained something unexpected in this mess, an ally. And maybe, just maybe, I was about to discover what Hallie and Stefan were really hiding. The garden shed was tucked behind a row of meticulously trimmed hedges, almost invisible unless you knew to look for it. I glanced over my shoulder, half expecting to see Truman following me, but the path behind me was empty. The only sounds were distant laughter from the cocktail hour and the soft crunch of gravel beneath my feet. The shed door was unlocked. I hesitated, suddenly aware of how crazy this was, sneaking around a wedding venue, following anonymous text messages, hunting for evidence of... what exactly? I didn't even know what I was looking for anymore, but I'd come too far to turn back now. I pushed the door open and stepped inside. The air was musty, thick with the smell of soil and fertilizer. Light filtered through a small, dirty window, illuminating shelves of gardening tools and supplies. Nothing seemed out of place or suspicious. Until I noticed a laptop sitting on a workbench in the corner. It was open, but in sleep mode. I tapped the spacebar, and the screen flickered to life. No password prompt. Whoever had left it here hadn't expected anyone to find it. The screen showed a video editing program. Several files were organized in a project folder labeled H&S Wedding. I clicked on one titled Final Cut. The video began to play. It was footage of Stefan in what looked like a hotel room, sitting on the edge of a bed. He was talking to someone off camera, looking nervous. "I can't do this anymore," he was saying. "The lying, the sneaking around, it's killing me." A woman's voice responded, Hallie's voice. "It's just a few more weeks. Once the money clears, we can tell her everything." My heart hammered against my ribs. Tell who everything? Me? And what if she finds out before then? Stefan ran his hands through his hair, his nervous tell. What if she already knows? She doesn't, Hallie sounded confident. Lexi trusts me completely. That's why this works. I felt sick. They were talking about me, about deceiving me. But what money were they waiting for? The video continued, showing more conversations between them, always in hotel rooms, always discussing some plan. In one clip, Stefan held up papers, what looked like bank statements. 300,000, he said, sounding incredulous. All from her family trust, and she has no idea. The room seemed to tilt around me, my family trust, the money my grandparents had left me, which I'd given Stefan access to when we got engaged. The money that had mysteriously underperformed, according to the statements he'd shown me. He hadn't lost my inheritance in bad investments. He'd stolen it, with Hallie's help. The last video in the sequence showed them in bed together, champagne glasses in hand, toasting to freedom. The timestamp showed a date 3 weeks before Stefan disappeared from my life. I was so absorbed in the footage that I didn't hear the shed door open. "I see you found my insurance policy." I whirled around to find Truman standing in the doorway, blocking my exit. "You recorded them," I said, my voice surprisingly steady despite the adrenaline coursing through me. "Why?" He stepped inside, closing the door behind him. "Same reason anyone creates an insurance policy. Protection." "Against what?" "Against people who might try to screw me over." He nodded toward the laptop. "Like those two." "I don't understand." Truman sighed, leaning against a shelf. "Stefan hired me 6 months ago to scrub some financial records. Said his fiance's family was after him for mismanaging funds. I didn't ask questions, the money was good." "But that wasn't true," I said. "Figured that out when I saw what I was actually erasing. He wasn't protecting himself from your family. He was hiding the transfers he'd been making to offshore accounts." Truman shrugged. "So I kept copies. Started recording their meetings too. Just in case. And now Hallie's paying you to keep quiet. $5,000 a month for the past year." He smiled without humor. "Until she decided it was getting too expensive. Said after the wedding they'd be moving abroad, somewhere without extradition." The pieces clicked into place. The wedding is their cover story. They're running away together, with my money. "Bingo," Truman nodded. "And I'm supposed to accidentally delete all my evidence after getting my final payment tonight. So why tell me? Why lead me here?" His expression hardened. "Because they're planning to pin everything on me if things go south. I heard them discussing it last week. I'm their fall guy." I processed this, my mind racing. "Those texts, they were from you?" "Had to be careful. Didn't know if I could trust you." He gestured to the laptop. "Now you know everything. Question is, what are you going to do about it?" Before I could answer, the shed door burst open again. Nicole stood there, breathless. "There you are! I've been looking everywhere!" She stopped, taking in the scene. "What's going on?" "Show her," I told Truman. He hesitated, then nodded, turning the laptop so Nicole could see. I watched her expression change as she viewed snippets of the footage. Shock, then disgust, then anger. "Those manipulative bastards," she whispered when it was over. "They stole my inheritance," I said, the words feeling strange in my mouth. $300,000, and they're planning to disappear after the wedding. Nicole's eyes met mine. "What do you want to do?" It was the second time someone had asked me that question in the past 5 minutes. This time I had an answer. "I want justice." My voice was calm, determined, and I know exactly how to get it. "The ceremony starts in 30 minutes, Nicole warned. "Perfect," I turned to Truman. I need a copy of those videos, and I need your help with the sound system during the reception. He raised an eyebrow. What are you planning? Something poetic. I felt a cold clarity settling over me. They used my trust against me. Now I'm going to use their wedding against them. As we left the shed, my phone buzzed with a message from Hallie. Where are you? Ceremony about to start. Need you now. I typed back, on my way, don't worry, everything's going exactly according to plan. Just not her plan, mine. The ceremony was picture perfect. Hallie glided down the aisle in her custom gown, beaming at Stefan like he was her salvation instead of her partner in crime. Guests dabbed at their eyes, moved by the romance of it all. If only they knew what I now did. I stood at the back, clipboard in hand, the perfect professional. Inside, I was ice and fire, calculating each step of what would come next while rage simmered beneath the surface. Nicole positioned herself near the main entrance, occasionally catching my eye with subtle nods. Truman had disappeared to prepare our technical arrangements for the reception. When Hallie and Stefan sealed their vows with a kiss, I felt nothing. The woman I'd once called my best friend and the man I'd planned to marry were now legally bound to each other, and I was about to bind them to their crimes. As guests moved to the cocktail hour, I slipped away to the bridal suite. I needed 5 minutes alone to steady myself. I hadn't expected to find Fatima waiting for me. There you are, she said, rising from the small love seat. I've been looking everywhere for you. Fatima, what are you doing here? I hadn't seen her arrive. I couldn't let you go through this alone. She crossed the room and hugged me tightly. This is insane, Lexi. You need to leave this toxic situation. I pulled back. I can't. Not yet. Why not? What could possibly be worth torturing yourself like this? I hesitated. Fatima had been telling me for months to let go, move on. Would she understand what I'd discovered? What I planned to do? They stole from me, I said finally. Not just Stefan and my trust, not just Hallie and our friendship. They literally stole my inheritance, $300,000. Fatima's eyes widened. What? How? I explained everything. The videos, the offshore accounts, their plan to disappear after the wedding. With each detail, her expression shifted from shock to outrage. Those manipulative, thieving... She stopped herself. What are you going to do? Expose them tonight, during the reception. She studied my face. And then what? What do you mean? After you expose them, after you get your revenge, what then? Her voice softened. Will it heal you, Lexi? Will it give you back the last year of your life? I hadn't thought that far ahead. My focus had been so narrow. Gather evidence, create a plan, execute. The after seemed irrelevant. I don't know, I admitted. But they can't just get away with this. No, they can't, she agreed. But there's a difference between justice and revenge. One heals, the other... She trailed off. I need to do this, I insisted. Fatima sighed. Then I'll be there, whatever happens. A knock at the door interrupted us. Nicole poked her head in. Sorry to intrude, but we have a situation. Stefan is looking for you, Lexi. Seems urgent. My stomach tightened. Did he say why? No, but he seemed nervous. He's waiting in the library. I glanced at Fatima, who squeezed my hand. Be careful. The library was a small, wood-paneled room off the main hall. Stefan stood by the window, silhouetted against the fading afternoon light. He turned when I entered. You found it, didn't you? No preamble, no pretense. I kept my expression neutral. Found what? Don't play dumb, Lexi. It doesn't suit you. He ran a hand through his hair. Truman's footage, the financial records. So he knew. Somehow, he knew. How did you figure it out? I asked, not bothering to deny it. Truman's been acting strange all day. Then I saw you two talking and you disappeared together. He stepped closer. What are you planning to do? What do you think I'm going to do, Stefan? You stole my inheritance. You and my best friend conspired behind my back for months. You're planning to flee the country tonight. He flinched at the accuracy of my accusations. It wasn't supposed to happen this way. Oh, how was it supposed to happen? We were going to pay you back. once we were settled, once the investments matured. Stop lying. My voice cut through his excuses. You never intended to pay me back. You thought I'd never find out. He was quiet for a moment. What do you want? Money? I can get you some of it back. Not all, but... I don't want your blood money, I interrupted. I want justice. By humiliating Hallie on our wedding day? How is that justice? It's a start. Stefan moved suddenly, grabbing my wrist. I can't let you do this. Let go of me. My voice was deadly calm. Not until you listen. There are things you don't understand. Things about Hallie. I understand perfectly. You're both thieves and liars. She'll destroy you if you try this, he hissed. You have no idea what she's capable of. Something in his tone made me pause. Fear. Not of exposure, but of Hallie herself. What are you talking about? Before he could answer, the door opened. Hallie stood there in her wedding gown, a vision in white. Her smile was radiant, but her eyes were cold as they moved from Stefan's hand on my wrist to my face. There you are, darling. Everyone's looking for you. Her voice was honey over steel. The photographer wants some sunset shots? Stefan released me immediately, like a guilty child caught misbehaving. Of course. I was just thanking Lexi for all her hard work today. Hallie's gaze lingered on me. How thoughtful. Though I'm sure Lexi has duties to attend to rather than private conversations with my husband. The emphasis on my husband was subtle but unmistakable. Actually, I said, finding my voice, Stefan was just expressing some concerns about the reception timeline. Was he? Her smile didn't waver. Well, I'm sure you've handled it perfectly, as always. You're nothing if not thorough. The threat in her words was clear only to the three of us. The first dance is scheduled for 8, I said professionally, right after dinner. Perfect. Hallie looped her arm through Stefan's. We'll be ready for our moment in the spotlight. As they left, Stefan glanced back at me, his expression unreadable. Was it a warning? A plea? I couldn't tell. What I did know was that whatever Stefan had been about to tell me about Hallie had frightened him. And now I had to decide, proceed with my plan as intended, or recalibrate based on this new, unsettling dynamic I'd glimpsed between them. The reception was starting. Guests were being seated. And somewhere in the building, Truman was preparing the technical aspects of my revenge. I had minutes to decide whether to pull the trigger or change course entirely. The reception hall glittered with fairy lights and floral arrangements, a perfect backdrop for the perfect couple's perfect day. I moved between tables, checking place cards and centerpieces, the model of efficiency. No one would guess the storm raging inside me. Nicole appeared at my elbow, champagne flute in hand. For appearances, she murmured, passing it to me. You look like you need it. I took a small sip, grateful for the burn in my throat. Stefan knows. What? How? He confronted me in the library. He knows we found the footage. Nicole's eyes widened. Does he know about tonight? He suspects something. I glanced across the room where Stefan and Hallie were greeting guests, their smiles never faltering. But there's something else. Something about Hallie that has him scared. Scared how? I don't know. He tried to warn me, but she interrupted before he could explain. Nicole followed my gaze to the happy couple. So, what's the plan? Still going ahead? The question hung between us. My carefully constructed revenge was primed and ready. Truman had loaded the incriminating videos onto the reception slideshow, set to play during the couple's first dance. One button push, and their perfect facade would shatter in front of everyone they knew. But Stefan's fear nagged at me. What was I missing? I need to talk to Truman, I decided. Where is he? DJ booth. But hurry, dinner's almost over. I made my way to the back of the hall where Truman was adjusting equipment behind his booth. He looked up as I approached. Everything's set, he said before I could speak. Videos will play right after their first dance starts. Remote trigger is under the booth if you want to do the honors. Wait, I said. I need to know something first. In all your surveillance, did you ever see Hallie threaten Stefan? Did she have leverage over him somehow? Truman's expression shifted subtly. Why do you ask? Something Stefan said. He seemed afraid of her. Truman hesitated, then reached for his laptop. There was one conversation I didn't include in what I showed you. Didn't seem relevant to the money situation. He pulled up a video file and turned the screen toward me. It showed Hallie and Stefan in what looked like a heated argument. I don't care if you're having second thoughts, Hallie was saying, her voice ice cold. We're too far in to back out now. This isn't what I signed up for, Stefan replied. The money, fine. But I never agreed to... To what? Say it. Hallie stepped closer to him. You never agreed to what exactly? Stefan seemed to shrink before her. You know what? If you back out now, I'll make sure everyone knows what really happened to your brother. Hallie's voice was barely above a whisper. How you were driving that night, how you left the scene, how you let him take the blame even after he died. My breath caught. Stefan's younger brother had died in a car accident 2 years ago. The official story was that he'd been driving drunk and crashed. Stefan had been devastated. You wouldn't, Stefan said in the video. Try me. Hallie's smile was chilling. Now pull yourself together. We have a wedding to plan. The video ended, leaving me stunned. This wasn't just about money. This was blackmail. When was this recorded? I asked. About 2 months before your breakup, Truman said. There were other conversations like this. She has something on him, something big enough to keep him in line. I felt sick. The Stefan I'd known, or thought I'd known, would never have left his brother to die. But if it was true... Does this change your plan? Truman asked. Before I could answer, the MC's voice boomed through the speakers, announcing dinner was concluding, and the first dance would begin shortly. I don't know, I admitted. This complicates things. How? They still stole your money. They still betrayed you. Yes, but... I stopped, uncertain how to articulate the shift I was feeling. Fatima appeared beside us, slightly breathless. There you are. Hallie's looking for you. Something about the cake-cutting schedule. I'll be right there. Lexi, Fatima's voice dropped. Whatever you're planning, do it because it's right, not because you're hurt. She squeezed my arm and disappeared back into the crowd. I turned back to Truman. Give me a few minutes. I need to talk to Hallie first. You're going to warn her? He looked incredulous. No, I'm going to give her one chance to explain, to make this right. That's a mistake, he warned. She'll manipulate you like she does everyone else. Maybe. I straightened my shoulders. But I need to look her in the eye before I destroy her life. I found Hallie in a small anteroom, adjusting her veil before the first dance. She was alone, a rare moment without her entourage. There you are, she said, seeing me in the mirror. Is it time? Almost. I closed the door behind me. We need to talk first. She turned, her expression curious. About what? About the $300,000 you and Stefan stole from me. The change was instantaneous. Her smile vanished, replaced by something cold and calculating. She didn't bother denying it. So you know. She sighed, as if I'd discovered a minor inconvenience rather than a felony. I wondered if you'd figure it out. Why, Hallie? I thought we were friends. Best friends. We were, she shrugged. But friendship doesn't pay for the life I want. And blackmailing Stefan about his brother's death? Was that just business too? That got a reaction, a flicker of surprise before her mask returned. You have been busy, Truman, I assume? I knew he couldn't be trusted. Did Stefan really leave his brother to die? I needed to know. Does it matter? She stepped closer. What matters is what happens next. What do you want, Lexi? Money? I can write you a check right now. I want the truth, all of it. Before I decide what happens during your first dance. Understanding dawned in her eyes. You've planned something. She laughed, a sound devoid of humor. Of course you have, always so thorough. She reached for her clutch and pulled out her phone. Before you do anything rash, you should see this. She tapped the screen and handed it to me. It was a video of me entering the garden shed earlier today, followed by footage of me and Truman discussing our plan for the reception. I had my own insurance policy, Hallie said softly. Did you really think I wouldn't be watching you, that I'd leave anything to chance? My stomach dropped. What do you want? Walk away, right now. Leave the wedding. Delete whatever evidence you think you have, and never contact either of us again. Her voice hardened. Or I release this to everyone, showing how the pathetic, jilted ex-fiancé tried to ruin our wedding out of spite. That's not what happened, and you know it. It's what everyone will believe. She took back her phone. You have until the first dance to decide. Choose wisely. The door opened and Stefan appeared. They're waiting for us, he said, his eyes darting between Hallie and me. Perfect timing, Hallie smiled, all warmth and joy again. Lexi and I were just finishing up. As they left, Stefan caught my eye, his expression a silent plea I couldn't decipher. I stood alone in the anteroom, the walls closing in. Hallie had outplayed me again. Or had she? Maybe there was still a way to expose the truth without destroying myself in the process. The music for the first dance began to swell. I had seconds to decide. The first dance had begun. Hallie and Stefan swayed in the center of the ballroom, bathed in soft spotlight as Etta James's voice filled the air. Guests circled them, phones raised to capture the perfect moment. I stood at the edge of the crowd, the remote trigger heavy in my palm. Hallie caught my eye over Stefan's shoulder and smiled, the smile of someone who believed they'd won. Maybe she had. Her counter-blackmail was clean, simple, and devastating. If I exposed them, she'd destroy what remained of my reputation. But something about her confidence didn't sit right. She'd been too quick to show her hand, too eager to neutralize me, almost as if she feared what I might do. Nicole appeared beside me. What's happening? Truman says you're having second thoughts. Hallie has footage of us planning this, I whispered. She's threatening to release it if I go through with it. Shit! Nicole glanced at the dancing couple. So we're backing off? I watched Stefan's face as he danced with his bride. He looked hollow, going through the motions. A man trapped. No, I decided. We're changing tactics. I handed Nicole the remote trigger. Find Fatima. Tell her to be ready by the main exit in 5 minutes. What are you going to do? Something I should have done from the beginning. Tell the truth. Before she could respond, I walked directly toward the dance floor. Guests parted, perhaps sensing my determination. I tapped the groom on the shoulder, interrupting the perfect first dance. May I cut in? I asked, my voice carrying in the sudden hush. Stefan froze. Hallie's eyes widened in alarm. Lexi, don't, she started. It's tradition, isn't it? I continued, my voice steady. For the maid of honor to dance with the groom? Confusion rippled through the crowd. I wasn't the maid of honor. I wasn't even a bridesmaid. Of course, Stefan said finally, releasing Hallie. One dance. Hallie grabbed his arm. Stefan, no. But it was too late. The guests were watching, murmuring. Any protest would seem strange, suspicious. Just one dance, I assured her, my smile mirroring the one she'd given me earlier. What harm could it do? Stefan took my hand, and we began to dance as Hallie retreated to the edge of the circle, her perfect composure finally cracking. What are you doing? Stefan whispered as we moved across the floor. Getting answers, I replied. Did you kill your brother? His step faltered. What? No? Is that what she told you? She said you were driving the night he died, that you let him take the blame. Pain flashed across his face. I wasn't driving. But I was there. I was supposed to be the designated driver, but I'd been drinking too. When the accident happened, I panicked and ran. By the time I came back with help, he was gone. So she's blackmailing you with the truth that you abandoned him? That, and she fabricated evidence that I was driving. Doctored photos, fake witness statements, enough to convince the police to reopen the case if she released it. The pieces clicked into place. That's why you disappeared. Why you went along with stealing my money. She had you cornered. I'm not innocent, Lexi, his voice cracked. I was a coward that night, and I've been a coward ever since. I let her manipulate me into betraying you. into marrying her. I deserve whatever comes next. The song was ending. I had seconds to decide. Do you have access to the offshore accounts? I asked. Yes, joint access. The money's still there, most of it. And if I expose everything tonight? She'll destroy us both. His eyes met mine. But maybe that's what I deserve. The final notes of the song faded. Applause broke out around us. I stepped back from Stefan, my decision made. Thank you for the dance, I said loudly enough for nearby guests to hear. Then quieter. I'm sorry about your brother. I walked directly to the DJ booth where Truman waited, Hallie's eyes burning into my back. Nicole and Fatima had positioned themselves by the exits as instructed. Change of plans, I told Truman. Do you have a microphone? He handed me one, confusion evident on his face. What about the videos? Not yet. I took a deep breath. I need to say something first. I stepped onto the small platform beside his booth. The microphone feedback cut through the chatter and the room fell silent. I'd like to make a toast, I announced. Hallie was pushing through the crowd toward me, panic in her eyes. Too late. For those who don't know me, my name is Lexi. I was supposed to marry Stefan last year. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Instead, I'm here tonight as the wedding coordinator for his marriage to my former best friend. The room was utterly silent now, every eye on me. I wanted to share a story about friendship and trust. My voice was clear, steady. About how Hallie helped me plan my wedding to Stefan, all while they were having an affair behind my back. Gasps and whispers erupted. Hallie had reached the edge of the platform, her face contorted with rage. But that's not even the most interesting part of their love story, I continued. The most interesting part is how they stole $300,000 from my inheritance, how they planned to flee the country tonight with my money, and how Hallie blackmailed Stefan into going along with it by threatening to frame him for his brother's death. The room exploded in shocked exclamations. Stefan stood motionless in the center of the dance floor, his face unreadable. Lies! Hallie screamed, lunging for the microphone. She's delusional, obsessed with my husband. Am I? I stepped back, nodding to Truman. Then perhaps we should let everyone see the evidence. The lights dimmed, the projector screen descended, and there, in high definition for all their guests to see, was Hallie in a hotel room, counting cash and laughing about how easy it had been to manipulate me. 300,000, her voice echoed through the speakers. And the stupid bitch has no idea. What followed was a carefully edited montage. Hallie and Stefan discussing their plan to steal my money, their scheme to disappear after the wedding, and finally Hallie's blackmail about Stefan's brother. When the lights came back up, the room was in chaos. Some guests were leaving in disgust. Others were filming on their phones. In the corner, I spotted two of Stefan's relatives who worked in law enforcement, their expressions grim as they approached the couple. Hallie turned to me, her beautiful face twisted with hatred. You think you've won? I'll destroy you for this. I held up my phone, showing her the screen. It was recording. More evidence? I asked quietly. Or should I play the video where you just threatened me again? For the first time, I saw real fear in her eyes. It's over, Hallie, I said. The truth is out. All of it. As security began escorting her away from me, she made one last desperate lunge, knocking a champagne tower to the floor in a spectacular crash of glass and liquid. In the chaos that followed, I felt a hand on my arm. Fatima. Time to go, she said gently. You've done what you came to do. As we walked toward the exit, Stefan called my name. I turned to see him standing alone amid the wreckage of his wedding, looking lost. I'm sorry, he said simply. I nodded once, acknowledging but not absolving. Then I walked away, leaving behind the shattered remains of what had once been the most important relationships in my life. Outside in the cool night air, surrounded by Nicole and Fatima, I finally let myself breathe. The weight I'd carried for so long began to lift. Not completely, some burdens leave permanent marks, but enough to feel like I could move forward. What now? Nicole asked. I looked up at the stars, bright and clear above us. Now I start over. The police station hummed with fluorescent lights and hushed conversations. I sat on an uncomfortable plastic chair, my event coordinator outfit wrinkled from the night's chaos. It was nearly 3 a.m., but sleep felt impossible. "Ms. Tucker?" A detective approached, notepad in hand. "We're almost finished with your statement, just a few more questions." I nodded, exhaustion seeping into my bones. For hours, I'd recounted every detail: the stolen inheritance, the blackmail, the elaborate wedding scheme. The detective had listened with professional detachment, occasionally asking for clarification. "The offshore accounts Mr. Webb mentioned," she said. "Do you have any documentation of those?" "Truman has copies of everything," I replied. "He's been cooperating with your colleagues." She made a note. "And you're certain you want to press charges? Against both of them?" The question hung in the air. Despite everything, some small part of me hesitated. These were people I had once loved deeply. "Yes," I said finally. "I'm certain," she nodded. "We'll be in touch. You're free to go for now." Outside, dawn was breaking over the city. Fatima waited in her car, head resting against the window. She startled awake when I opened the passenger door. "Hey," she said, blinking sleep from her eyes. "How did it go?" "As well as could be expected." I buckled my seatbelt. "They're both in custody. Hallie for fraud and blackmail, Stefan as an accessory." "Good," she squeezed my hand. "I'm proud of you." We drove in silence through the empty streets. Not toward my apartment, I realized, but toward the beach. "Why are we going to the shore?" I asked. "Because you need it." Fatima glanced at me. "Some things can only be processed with your toes in the sand." The beach was deserted at this hour, the tide low and retreating. We kicked off our shoes and walked along the wet sand, the cold water occasionally lapping at our ankles. The horizon was a watercolor of pinks and oranges, beautiful in its impermanence. "I keep thinking about what happens next," I said, breaking our silence. "The trial, the publicity, everyone knowing what happened." "Are you worried about that?" I considered the question. "Strangely, no. I spent so long hiding the truth, from others, from myself. There's something freeing about everything being in the open." "And the money?" "The detective thinks they can recover most of it. The accounts were frozen as soon as they were identified." I dug my toes into the wet sand. "But honestly, I don't care as much about that as I thought I would." "No? It's just money. What I really lost was trust, faith in my own judgment." I looked out at the horizon. "That's harder to get back." Fatima nodded, "but not impossible." We walked further down the beach, the rising sun warming our backs. A text message chimed on my phone. Nicole, checking in. I'd only known her a day, yet she'd stood beside me through everything. Some connections form in minutes that others can't build in years. "You know what's strange?" I said, typing a quick reply to Nicole. "I keep waiting to feel vindicated, triumphant, but mostly I just feel sad." "That makes sense," Fatima replied. "You didn't just lose a fiancé and a friend, you lost your vision of the future, your trust in people. That's worth grieving." We reached a small tidal pool where tiny fish darted between rocks, life continuing in its small, determined way despite the changing tides. Royal, my therapist, once told me that healing isn't about erasing what happened, I said. It's about integrating it into your story in a way that doesn't define you. Wise words. I didn't understand them until now. I looked back at our footprints in the sand, already being erased by the incoming tide. I don't want this betrayal to be the thing that defines me. So what will define you instead? The question hung between us as we turned back toward the parking lot. What would define me now? Not victimhood, not revenge, not even justice. I think, I said slowly, I want to be defined by how I rebuild, by who I choose to trust and how I choose to love after knowing how much it can hurt. As we approached Fatima's car, I noticed a figure waiting nearby. Truman, looking as exhausted as I felt. "The police finished with you?" I asked as we reached him. He nodded. "For now. They'll need us both for the trial." "Thank you," I said, "for everything." "Don't thank me yet." He handed me a flash drive. There's something you should see, something I held back. I took it, wary. More evidence? A different kind. Watch it alone. His eyes were serious. It might change how you feel about everything. After Truman left, Fatima drove me home. I clutched the flash drive, curious and apprehensive. Want me to stay while you watch it? She asked as we pulled up to my apartment. I shook my head. I need to do this part alone. Inside, I plugged the drive into my laptop. A single video file appeared. I clicked play, bracing myself. It was Stefan, sitting alone in what looked like a hotel room, recording himself. Lexi, if you're watching this, it means everything has fallen apart. His voice was steady, but his eyes were red-rimmed. I recorded this as insurance, in case something happened to me, but also as a confession. He explained everything, how he'd discovered Hallie had been embezzling from my accounts months before he disappeared, how he'd confronted her and been ensnared in her blackmail scheme, how he'd agreed to the fake relationship to try to recover my money from inside. I failed you, he said simply. I thought I could outsmart her, protect you, and fix everything. Instead, I became part of the problem. I don't expect forgiveness. I just wanted you to know that I never stopped loving you, even when I had to pretend I did. The video ended. I sat in silence, tears streaming down my face. Not for the relationship I'd lost, that was truly gone, but for the complexity of human weakness, for the ways fear can corrupt even love. I closed my laptop and walked to the window. The morning sun illuminated the city, people beginning their days unaware of how lives could shatter and reform overnight. My phone buzzed with a text from Nicole. Breakfast tomorrow? I know a place that serves healing in waffle form. I smiled through my tears and typed back, yes, I'd like that. Then I opened my contacts and scrolled to Royal's number. It was time to schedule a session, not to process my betrayal anymore, but to begin the harder, more important work of rebuilding trust, starting with myself. The flash drive sat on my desk, a small repository of complicated truths. I wouldn't delete it, but I wouldn't watch it again either. Some chapters need to be acknowledged but not revisited. I opened my bedroom window, letting in the fresh morning air. For the first time in over a year, I felt the weight of betrayal lifting, not gone, but transformed into something I could carry without being crushed. I was not defined by what they had done to me. I was defined by what I would do next, and I was ready to find out exactly what that would be.
The laughter floats down from upstairs like a taunt, punctuated by the occasional shriek of delight that makes my shoulders tense. I adjust the tiny gears in front of me, pretending the sound doesn't twist something in my chest. Another game night I wasn't invited to. The basement workshop is my sanctuary, all smooth concrete and the comforting smell of metal and oil. My latest invention spreads across the workbench, a mechanized board game that responds to players' choices, creating unique story paths each time. I've spent months perfecting it, telling myself this will be the thing that finally makes them see me. Jennifer? Mom's voice carries down the stairs. We're having dessert if you want to join us. The casual afterthought in her tone makes me wince. I don't answer, focusing instead on calibrating the delicate spring mechanism that controls the game board's transformations. Above, chairs scrape across hardwood floors, and my sister Evelyn's distinctive laugh rings out again. My phone buzzes, a text from Deacon. How's the project coming? Still planning the big reveal next week? I type back quickly. Almost there. Just need to fine-tune the storytelling algorithms. More laughter spills down, followed by Mom's voice again. Oh, Evelyn, you always know exactly how to bring everyone together. My hands freeze over the circuitry. That's rich, considering Evelyn's the reason I stopped getting invited to these gatherings years ago. I discovered last month that she'd been telling everyone I found game nights childish and beneath me. A convenient lie that painted her as the fun sister and me as the cold, distant one. The truth? I've spent every Thursday night for the past 3 years listening to their joy from my workshop, wondering what it would take to be included. My father's deep voice rumbles through the ceiling, indistinct but warm. He only uses that tone with Evelyn. With me, it's always tinged with disappointment, like I'm a calculation that refuses to add up correctly. I lift the game board, testing its weight. It's beautiful. Brass and wood and tiny lights that pulse like heartbeats. Each piece is handcrafted, programmed to react to players' choices and weave their decisions into an evolving narrative. It's everything I am: precision and creativity and countless hours of work, all wrapped in something meant to bring people together. The prototype's almost ready for next week's Inventor Showcase. I've already imagined their faces when they see it on display, when they finally understand that the daughter they dismissed as cold and antisocial created something magical, something that could transform family game nights everywhere. Footsteps creak on the stairs, and I quickly cover my work with a cloth. Mom appears, plate in hand, wearing that familiar expression of mild concern that never quite reaches her eyes. "I brought you some cake," she says, setting it on a clear corner of my workbench. "Evelyn made it, her famous chocolate truffle recipe." "Thanks," I manage, though the word tastes bitter. Evelyn's famous recipe came from our grandmother's cookbook, the one Mom gave her without even asking if I might want it. "You know, you could come up sometimes," Mom says, glancing around my workshop with barely concealed disapproval. "Everyone would love to see you." The lie hangs between us, heavy as lead. "I'm kind of in the middle of something," I say, gesturing vaguely at my covered project. "Always working," she sighs. "Well, don't stay up too late." She turns to leave, then pauses. "Oh, Evelyn mentioned she might stop by tomorrow to borrow some tools. I told her it was fine." My stomach clenches. "What? Mom, my tools are organized specifically for my work. She can't just—" "Jennifer, please. She's your sister. Can't you share just once?" Before I can respond, she's gone, leaving me with a slice of cake I won't eat, and that familiar ache of being the difficult daughter. I wait until her footsteps fade before uncovering my invention. Something's wrong. My heart stops as I scan the workbench. The main control board is slightly askew, the backup drive missing. My project files, including the detailed blueprints I spent months perfecting, are gone from my laptop. With trembling fingers, I pull up my browser history. There, in the autofill, is a search I never made. How to submit invention proposals to Tomorrow's Tech Today. Tomorrow's Tech Today. The television show where inventors showcase their creations to millions. The show Evelyn mentioned applying to months ago, right before she started asking suspicious questions about my project. Upstairs, the laughter continues, but now it sounds different, darker, like the sound of something precious shattering beyond repair. I don't sleep. Instead, I spend the night piecing together all the times Evelyn asked about my project, each seemingly innocent question now sharp with intent. By morning, my hands shake from too much coffee and rage. The doorbell rings at exactly 9 a.m. Of course she's punctual. Evelyn's never been late for anything in her life. I open the door to find her perfect smile, her perfect outfit, her perfect lie ready. "Jenny, I was hoping you'd be up." She breezes past me, designer purse swinging. "Mom said I could borrow some tools?" The casual audacity steals my breath. I close the door slowly, counting to 3. Funny timing, isn't it? Right after my project files disappear, she doesn't miss a beat. "What do you mean?" "Don't." My voice comes out harder than I've ever let it before. "I know about Tomorrow's Tech Today. I saw the search history." A flicker crosses her face. Surprise, maybe fear. But it's gone instantly. "Oh, that. I was going to tell you. I've been developing this amazing concept for interactive board games, and—" "Stop lying." The words explode from me. Those are my blueprints, my invention, my life's work that you stole. Evelyn's smile falters, then reforms. "Jenny, you're being dramatic. I simply built on your basic idea, made it more marketable, more family-friendly. You know how you tend to overcomplicate things. The patronizing tone makes my vision blur. I grab my tablet, pull up the producer's email I found last night. Really? Because according to this, you submitted my exact designs, down to the last line of code. I can explain. When? I cut her off. When were you going to explain? During the live broadcast next month? After you won? Or were you hoping I'd never find out? She sets her purse down, smooths her skirt. Always composed, always in control. Look, I did you a favor. You would have kept tinkering forever, never showing it to anyone. I'm giving your invention the platform it deserves. You mean you're giving yourself the platform? The pieces click together with sickening clarity. That's why you've been asking about my progress, why you started coming down to the workshop more. You were planning this all along. The producers loved the pitch, she says, like that justifies everything. They're flying me to New York next week for pre-production meetings. This could be huge, Jennifer, for both of us. I laugh, and it sounds strange even to me. Both of us? You're presenting it as your sole invention, your breakthrough. I'll credit you as a consultant or something. She waves her hand dismissively. But let's be realistic. You're not exactly TV material. You can barely handle family game night, let alone a live broadcast. Because you told everyone I didn't want to be included. The words tear from my throat. Years of lies, and now this? Oh, please. Her perfect mask finally cracks, showing the contempt beneath. You did that to yourself, always hiding down here with your projects, acting superior to everyone. I just made it easier for the family to accept what they already knew. You don't fit. The truth of her manipulation hits like a physical blow. Every excluded Thursday, every sympathetic look from Mom, every disappointed sigh from Dad, all carefully orchestrated by my sister. Get out. My voice shakes. Don't be childish. She picks up her purse. Think about it. Once the show airs, once it's successful, none of this will matter. You'll thank me eventually. The only thing I'm thinking about is how to prove you stole my work. Something dangerous flashes in her eyes. That would be unwise. Mom and Dad have already seen my proposal. They're so proud, Jennifer. Would you really hurt them by turning this into some petty rivalry? The threat is clear. She's already positioned herself as the hero of this story. Any attempt to expose her would make me the jealous, unstable sister trying to sabotage her success. The show airs in 4 weeks, she continues, heading for the door. Don't ruin this for everyone. Oh, and I'll need those tools another time. Clearly, you're not in a sharing mood today. She leaves me standing in my workshop, surrounded by the gutted remains of my dream. My phone buzzes, a group text from Mom. Exciting news! Family gathering tonight to celebrate Evelyn's upcoming TV appearance. Jennifer, please try to make it this time. Your sister would love your support. I stare at the message until the screen goes dark, something cold and calculating taking root where hurt used to be. Evelyn wants a show? Fine. She'll get one she'll never forget. I sit at the breakfast table, watching Evelyn hold court. She's describing her creative process to our parents, each lie more elaborate than the last. My tea has gone cold, untouched. The breakthrough came when I realized the game needed to adapt to players' emotions, she says, stealing my exact words from months of research. It's about connection, really, bringing families together. Dad beams at her. That's my girl, always thinking bigger. I grip my mug tighter, remembering all the times he dismissed my ideas as impractical. Now he's nodding along as Evelyn explains my invention like she understands the first thing about adaptive algorithms or mechanical engineering. Jennifer? Mom's voice breaks through my thoughts. You've barely touched your breakfast. Not hungry. I push away from the table. Need to work. Work? Evelyn's laugh tinkles like broken glass. The invention's done, silly. You should relax, celebrate with us. The casual ownership of my creation makes something snap inside me. I turn back slowly. You're right, it is done. Every circuit, every line of code, every failed prototype that led to the final design, all done. By me. The table goes silent. Mom's fork freezes halfway to her mouth. Jennifer, Dad warns, using his "this isn't the time" voice. No, please, Evelyn says sweetly. Let her speak. She's obviously working through some feelings. The condescension in her tone crystallizes everything, every slight, every manipulation, every stolen moment. I walk to my workshop without another word, their murmured conversation following me down the stairs. My workbench is still a mess from Evelyn's theft, but among the scattered components, an idea takes shape. I pull out my original prototype, the one I built before streamlining the design. It's clunkier, with exposed gears and visible circuitry, but it contains something Evelyn doesn't know about. A failsafe. I power it up, watching the lights flicker to life. Every game piece has a tiny sensor that reads players' choices, feeding data to the main processor. But there's a secondary system, one I never documented in the stolen blueprints. It monitors for specific patterns, triggering alternate storylines if certain conditions are met. My phone buzzes. Gianna from work. Saw the press release about tomorrow's tech today. Your sister's game looks amazing. Why didn't you tell me? My hands shake as I type back. Not my story to tell. 3 dots appear, then, you okay? You've seemed off lately. I ignore it, focusing instead on the prototype. The show will want a dramatic demonstration, something to wow the audience. Evelyn will have to play the game live, prove it works. She doesn't know that every choice in the game creates a digital fingerprint, a unique signature that proves authorship. If I can modify the failsafe to recognize specific play patterns, Jennifer? Dad's voice startles me. He rarely comes down here. I quickly cover the prototype. What? He stands awkwardly at the bottom of the stairs, hands in his pockets. Your mother's worried about you. This tension with your sister. It needs to stop. Tension? I laugh bitterly. Is that what we're calling theft now? Don't be dramatic. He sighs, sounding tired. Evelyn has a gift for presenting ideas, making them accessible. You've always struggled with that. So that makes it okay for her to steal my work? She's not stealing. She's collaborating. That's what family does. He steps closer, expression softening. Remember when you were kids? How you used to finish each other's projects? No, she used to take credit for my projects. There's a difference. Jennifer, did you even look at her proposal? I cut him off. Really look at it? Because if you did, you'd see... I've seen enough. His voice hardens. Your sister has an opportunity here, a real chance at success. Don't let jealousy ruin that. The word hits like a slap. Jealousy. Of course that's how they see it. Evelyn's perfectly crafted narrative at work again. Fine, I say quietly. You're right. It's a great opportunity. Relief crosses his face. That's my girl. I knew you'd understand. He leaves me alone with my prototype and my plans. Above, I hear Evelyn laugh, probably already rehearsing her television appearance. She thinks she knows my invention inside and out, thinks she can pass it off as her own without consequences. But she doesn't know about the failsafe, doesn't understand that every game tells a story, and sometimes the story is about justice. I power up the prototype again, fingers flying over the controls. 4 weeks until the show. 4 weeks to modify the failsafe, to ensure that when Evelyn plays my game in front of millions, the truth will finally have its moment in the spotlight. Let her laugh. Soon enough, everyone will know exactly who's been playing games with whom. The modified game board hums under my hands, each piece positioned exactly where it needs to be. I've been running simulations for hours, testing every possible combination of moves that could trigger the failsafe during Evelyn's demonstration. Your sister's interview is on, Mom calls down the stairs. I switch on the small TV in my workshop, stomach churning as Evelyn appears on the morning news show. She's wearing the pearl necklace Mom gave her for graduation, the one that was supposed to be passed down to the eldest daughter. The game adapts to players' emotional states, she explains, perfectly poised. It's like having an AI dungeon master who knows exactly how to challenge each player. The host leans forward, captivated. And you developed this entirely on your own? Well, Evelyn laughs modestly. I've always been fascinated by the intersection of technology and human connection. I grab my notebook, jotting down every technical term she uses incorrectly. Each mistake is a potential trigger point for the failsafe, a chance to expose her lack of understanding during the live demonstration. My phone lights up with a text from Gianna. Watching your sister right now. Something feels off about this whole thing. Before I can respond, another message appears. Those algorithms she's describing? They sound exactly like the project you showed me last month. My hands freeze over the keyboard. I'd forgotten about that conversation with Gianna, about showing her early sketches during lunch break. She could verify my authorship, prove I developed the concept first, but using her would mean dragging someone else into this mess, someone whose career could be affected by a public controversy. The TV host's voice pulls my attention back. And your family must be so proud. They're incredibly supportive, Evelyn beams, especially my sister. She's always been my biggest cheerleader. The blatant lie makes me laugh out loud, a harsh sound in the empty workshop. I turn off the TV and focus on the prototype, adjusting the sensitivity of the emotion reading sensors. They need to be calibrated perfectly to detect the stress in Evelyn's voice when she tries to explain technical details she doesn't understand. Jennifer? Mom's voice, closer this time. She's standing at the bottom of the stairs. Why aren't you watching? Your sister mentioned you. I heard. I don't look up from my work. Hard to miss when someone's stealing your life on national television. Stop this. She steps closer, voice sharp. Your father and I are tired of your attitude. Evelyn's success doesn't diminish you. No, her theft diminishes me. I finally meet her eyes. Did you even read her proposal, the technical specifications, or did you just assume she was telling the truth because she always does? I read enough. Mom's face hardens. I read about bringing families together, about creating something meaningful. When's the last time you talked about your work that way? All you discuss are algorithms and circuits, because that's what makes it work. I stand up, frustrated. The emotional connection she's taking credit for, it happens because of those algorithms, because of months of coding and testing and now it's reaching people. Mom cuts in. Isn't that what matters? Your sister knows how to connect with an audience. She's making your technical work accessible. By stealing it. By elevating it. She sighs, looking around the workshop. You could learn from her, you know. Stop hiding down here with your machines. Start thinking about what people actually want. The casual dismissal of everything I am hits harder than expected. What people want, I repeat slowly. You mean what you want, what Evelyn wants. Has anyone ever asked what I want? Of course Mom stops, frowning at something on my workbench. Is that the prototype? I thought Evelyn had the final version. This is different, I say carefully. A backup. She picks up a game piece, examining it. These look more complicated than the ones Evelyn showed us. More exposed. That's because she doesn't understand how they work. I take the piece from her hand, but she will, on live television. Something in my tone makes Mom step back. Jennifer, whatever you're planning, I'm planning to support my sister, I say, echoing Evelyn's sweet tone. Isn't that what you want? She studies my face for a long moment. The show means everything to her, to this family. Don't ruin it with whatever this is. I wouldn't dream of it. After she leaves, I return to the prototype. The piece Mom handled glows softly, its sensors already recording the emotional data from our conversation. Every touch, every tension, every unspoken truth, the game remembers it all. I power up the simulation again, watching the pieces move according to my programming. Soon, Evelyn will play this game in front of millions. Soon, every hidden truth will come to light. And the best part? She'll trigger it herself, one move at a time. Rain drums against the coffee shop windows, matching my mood. Deacon sits across from me, his expression growing more concerned as I explain my plan. The cafe is nearly empty, but I still keep my voice low. Old habits. So, you've modified the failsafe? He says slowly. To what? Malfunction during her demonstration? Not malfunction. I wrap my hands around my cooling coffee. Reveal. Every time she makes a move that contradicts her claimed expertise, the game will highlight her mistakes. By the end, everyone will see she doesn't understand how it works. And humiliate her on national television. He doesn't phrase it as a question. She deserves it. Does she? Deacon leans forward. Or does some part of you just want to hurt her the way she hurt you? The truth in his words makes me flinch. You don't understand. This isn't just about the invention. It's about years of her, reshaping reality, making me the outsider in my own family. I get that, but Jennifer? He pauses, choosing his words carefully. I've known you since college. You're brilliant, driven, passionate about your work. But this isn't you. Maybe it should be. I stare out at the rain. Maybe if I'd fought back sooner, stood up for myself more. Or maybe you'd have become exactly what she painted you as, the bitter, jealous sister. Lightning flashes outside, throwing harsh shadows across the cafe. So I should just let her win? Let her take everything I've worked for? No. Deacon pulls out his phone, scrolls through something. But there might be another way. Look at this. He shows me an email thread, correspondence between him and a patent lawyer. My throat tightens. You didn't. I made some inquiries, hypothetically. He sets the phone down. You have documentation, early prototypes, witness development stages. If you wanted to fight this legally, she'd still win. The words taste bitter. She has our parents convinced. The media loves her. By the time any legal case resolved, the damage would be done. Maybe, but at least you'd be fighting clean. Clean? I laugh sharply. Was it clean when she stole my work? When she spent years poisoning my relationship with our parents? When she... Jennifer. Deacon reaches across the table, touches my hand. Listen to yourself. You're talking about deliberately destroying your sister on live television. What happens after? To your family? To you? I don't care. Yes, you do. That's the whole point. He squeezes my hand. You care so much it's eating you alive, but this plan, it won't give you what you really want. And what's that? Recognition, validation, your family's understanding. He sits back. All this will do is confirm every story Evelyn's told about you. The truth of it hits hard. In trying to expose her game, I'm playing right into it, becoming exactly what she's always claimed I am. My phone buzzes. A text from Gianna. Need to talk. Found something in the patent database about your sister's invention. See? Deacon nods at my phone. There are other ways. People who know the truth. People who can help you fight this properly. It's not enough. I stand up abruptly, gathering my things. The show's in 2 weeks. A legal battle would take months, years maybe. By then, she'll have everything she wanted. Jennifer, thanks for the coffee, I cut him off, and the advice, but I need to do this my way. I step out into the rain, letting it soak through my jacket. My phone buzzes again. Another message from Gianna, then one from Mom. Evelyn's pre-show interview tomorrow. Family dinner after. Please be there. Lightning splits the sky again, and in that brief, brilliant moment, everything crystallizes. Deacon's right. I care too much. But maybe that's not a weakness. Maybe it's exactly what I need. Because Evelyn doesn't care. Not about the invention, not about the family, not about anything except winning. And that's why my original plan won't work. Public humiliation? She'd spin it, play the victim, come out stronger. No. If I want real justice, I need to beat her at her own game. Use her weapons, emotion, connection, family, against her. I pull out my phone, text Gianna back. Let's talk tomorrow morning. Then I message Mom. I'll be at dinner. Tell Evelyn I want to help with her demonstration. Let her think I've surrendered. Let her believe she's won. Because now I understand the best revenge isn't served cold. It's served with a smile, right before the ground disappears beneath your feet. The television studio buzzes with pre-show energy, techs darting around with clipboards and headsets. I stand in the shadows of the soundstage, watching Evelyn charm the production team during her rehearsal. The emotional mapping is revolutionary, she explains to Shane, the host, gesturing at my invention. Each player's choices create a unique narrative fingerprint. My fingers curl around the USB drive in my pocket. One simple upload would activate the modified failsafe, expose her lies. But Gianna's words from this morning echo in my head. The patent records show preliminary filings in your name. We can stop this legally. Jennifer, Evelyn spots me, waves me over with practiced enthusiasm. Come meet everyone. My sister's been so supportive of the project. Shane turns, flashing his camera-ready smile. The mysterious sister. Evelyn's told us you've been helping behind the scenes. Oh, yes. I match Evelyn's sweet tone. I know exactly how everything works. Evelyn's smile flickers for a fraction of a second. Jenny's always been good with technical details. Maybe she should join the demonstration, Shane suggests. Add a family element? Oh, I don't think, Evelyn starts. I'd love to. I meet her eyes. After all, who knows the game better than family? Before she can respond, a producer calls Shane away. The moment we're alone, Evelyn's smile vanishes. What are you doing here? She hisses. Supporting my sister. Isn't that what you wanted? Don't play games with me. Isn't that exactly what we should be doing? I gesture at the game board. Playing games? She grabs my arm, pulls me behind a set piece. Listen carefully. Mom told me about your little workshop project. Whatever you're planning, it won't work. I've already had the technical team verify everything. The game works perfectly. Of course it does. I built it. No one will believe that. Her voice turned sickeningly sweet. Poor Jennifer, always so jealous of her sister's success, always trying to take credit for others' achievements. Mom and Dad are worried about you, you know. They think you might need help. The implied threat lands like a physical blow. She's already planted the seeds, already prepared her defense. Any attempt to expose her will make me look unstable, vindictive. Ms. Evelyn, a tech approaches with a tablet. We need to verify some specifications about the emotional algorithm. Of course. Evelyn's perfect smile returns. Jennifer was just leaving. I walk away, hands shaking. Near the exit, I spot Gianna waiting. She waves me over, expression grave. I've got the patent paperwork ready, she whispers. One phone call and we can... It's not enough. I watch Evelyn fumble through technical questions. She's thought of everything. Any legal challenge will take too long, and she's already positioned me as the unstable sister. Then what's your plan? I pull out my phone, show her the modified code. During the demonstration, when she fails to explain how it works, Jennifer, no. Gianna grabs my wrist. That's not justice. That's revenge. It won't fix anything. It'll show everyone who she really is. Will it? She looks at me hard. Or will it show them exactly who she says you are? Before I can respond, Shane's voice booms across the studio. Places everyone. Full rehearsal in 5. I have to go, I tell Gianna, pulling away. Wait. She hands me a business card. Patent lawyer, just think about it. Please? I stuff the card in my pocket next to the USB drive. On stage, Evelyn practices her introduction, radiant under the lights. She's always been comfortable in the spotlight, probably because she's spent years pushing others into shadows. And for tomorrow's live demonstration, Shane announces, we'll have a special guest player. Evelyn's sister, Jennifer, will join us to showcase this revolutionary game. Evelyn's head snaps toward me, real fear finally cracking through her perfect mask. She knows I could expose her, reveal her theft to millions. The power should feel good. It doesn't, because Gianna's right. Revenge won't fix this. But maybe there's another way, a better way to use tomorrow's demonstration. I touch the USB drive one last time, then let my hand fall away. Evelyn wants to play games? Fine. But this time, we'll play by my rules, and my rules just changed. The studio lights burn hot against my skin as Shane introduces us to the live audience. Evelyn sits across the game board from me, her smile brittle under the makeup. Our parents watch from the front row, beaming with pride. At her, always at her. Today's demonstration will show how the game adapts to players' emotional states, Shane announces. A revolutionary breakthrough by rising star inventor Evelyn. The audience applauds. I focus on the game board between us, its brass pieces gleaming. Each one contains sensors I built, code I wrote, dreams I poured into circuits and silicon. Shall we begin? Shane asks. Evelyn nods, reaching for her first piece. Her hands shake slightly. She knows enough about the game to be dangerous, but not enough to truly understand it, not enough to know what I've done. The game powers up, lights pulsing in patterns only I fully comprehend. Our first few moves are simple, setting up the story. But then Shane asks the question I've been waiting for. Evelyn, can you explain how the emotional mapping actually works? She launches into her rehearsed speech about connection and family, carefully avoiding technical details. But the game is already reading her stress levels, adjusting its response. Fascinating, Shane says. And the algorithmic processing? Perhaps, I cut in, voice steady. We should demonstrate rather than explain. Evelyn shoots me a warning look. I ignore it, placing my next piece deliberately. The board responds, creating a story path about two sisters, one always in shadow, one always in light. Oh my, Shane leans forward. The narrative seems quite personal. The game reflects players' true emotions, I say, watching Evelyn's face. Their authentic selves. She moves her piece quickly, trying to redirect the story. But she doesn't understand the deeper patterns, doesn't see how each choice reveals more truth. The technical architecture, I continue, is actually quite elegant. Each sensor measures micro-expressions, vocal stress patterns, subtle tells that betray our real feelings. Yes, Evelyn stammers. That's exactly how I designed it. Show us, I challenge softly. The audience goes quiet. Even Shane seems to sense the tension crackling between us. Evelyn reaches for another piece, but her hand freezes. The game is creating a story about theft now, about lies and broken trust, about a family blind to the truth. She glances at our parents, at the cameras, at her perfect world starting to crack. There seems to be a malfunction. No malfunction, I say. The game is working exactly as designed. By me. The words hang in the air. In the front row, Mom's smile falters. Dad sits up straighter. What do you mean? Shane asks. I turn to face the cameras directly. Every piece of this game, every circuit, every line of code, every story pathway, I created it. I can prove it, not through revenge or public humiliation, but through the truth hidden in the game itself. Jennifer, Evelyn warns. Each player's moves create a unique signature, I continue, a technical fingerprint that proves who truly understands the system. Would you like to see yours, Evelyn? Her face goes pale. The game board displays her pattern, hesitant, uncertain, revealing her surface-level knowledge. Then it shows mine, deep, complex, intimate understanding of every component. The patent records, I say quietly, will confirm everything, as will the original prototypes, the documentation, the witnesses. Cut to commercial, Evelyn demands, but the producers are too captivated to respond. I place my final piece, the game's lights pulse, telling the true story at last, not through malicious code or engineered failure, but through simple, irrefutable truth. I didn't come here for revenge, I tell her, loud enough for everyone to hear. I came to take back what's mine, not through your methods, lies, and manipulation, but through the very technology you tried to steal. The game board glows brighter, each piece illuminating years of work, of passion, of quiet dedication, while she took the spotlight. Our parents stare at the display, finally seeing the daughter they'd overlooked for so long. The game, I finish softly, doesn't lie, neither do I. Evelyn stands abruptly, knocking pieces aside. But it's too late. The truth is out, captured on camera, proven through technology she never bothered to truly understand. That's quite a demonstration, Shane manages finally. Perhaps not the one we expected, but I stand too, surprisingly calm. No, it's exactly the demonstration this game was designed for, because sometimes the most important stories are the ones that need to be told. The studio erupts in chaos, producers shouting, audience murmuring, our parents frozen in shock. But I keep my eyes on Evelyn as her carefully constructed world crumbles around her. She wanted a show. She got one. Just not the one she expected. The studio's green room feels too small for all the unspoken words hanging in the air. Mom sits rigid on the leather couch. Dad paces by the window. And Evelyn, perfect, polished Evelyn, stares at her reflection in the dark television screen. How long? Mom finally asks. How long have you been stealing your sister's work? Evelyn flinches. Don't. Dad's voice cracks like a whip. We saw the evidence, the patents, the code, everything. I stand by the door, watching my sister's carefully constructed world continue to unravel. It should feel triumphant. Instead, I just feel tired. I tried to tell you, I say quietly. Every time I showed you my projects, tried to explain my work, but you only saw what Evelyn wanted you to see. Because she made it accessible, Mom starts, but the excuse sounds hollow even to her now. She made it what? I step forward. Palatable, acceptable, everything I created wasn't good enough until she claimed it as her own. Evelyn turns from the screen, tears smearing her perfect makeup. You don't understand. I had to be the successful one, the one who made something of herself. Without that, what am I? You're my sister. The words surprise even me. That should have been enough. A knock at the door makes us all jump. Shane enters, looking uncomfortable. The producers want to know if we're continuing with the segment. Before anyone can respond, I walk to my game board, still sitting on the coffee table. Yes, but this time, we play for real. All of us. Jennifer, Dad starts. Sit down. I power up the board, watching the familiar lights dance. It's time we all saw the truth. They hesitate, then one by one take their places around the table. I distribute the pieces, each one containing years of work, of hope, of pain. The game reads emotions, I explain, meeting each of their eyes. Not just surface feelings, but deeper patterns. The stories we tell ourselves, the lies we believe. The first moves are tentative. The board responds, weaving our choices into a narrative about family, about expectations, about the weight of being seen or overlooked. Every time I succeeded, Evelyn whispers, moving her piece, I was terrified you'd outshine me. You always were the brilliant one. The game shifts, revealing her fear, her desperate need for validation. Mom's hand shakes as she takes her turn. I thought, she swallows hard, I thought pushing you would make you more like your sister, more normal, I finish. The board pulses, telling a story of conformity and rebellion. Dad's piece creates patterns of regret, of opportunities missed while chasing someone else's dreams. The game weaves it all together, our pain, our jealousy, our love twisted by expectations. I never wanted to hurt you, Evelyn says softly. I didn't know how to be special next to you. You created impossible things. I only knew how to sell them. You could have asked. I place my final piece. We could have worked together, really worked together. The board glows brighter, showing us what could have been. Two sisters combining their strengths instead of fighting over spotlight. Can we? Mom wipes her eyes. Can we start over? No. I power down the game, but we can start from here, with the truth. Shane clears his throat from the doorway. The network wants to do a follow-up segment about the real inventor. I look at Evelyn, see the fear in her eyes. Fear of exposure, of consequences, of losing everything she built on lies. Tell them, I say, that the game was a collaboration, a sister with vision, a sister with technical brilliance, both necessary, both valuable. Evelyn's head snaps up. After everything I did, I'm not doing it for you. I meet her gaze. I'm doing it because I'm tired of games. Real innovation comes from connection, not competition. That's what this was always about. The tension in the room shifts, something brittle becoming bendable. Not broken, not fixed, but changing. Besides, I add, gathering my things, I have other inventions to work on, real ones, under my own name. I leave them there, stepping out into the studio's hallway where Deacon and Gianna wait. Behind me, I hear Mom call my name, hear Evelyn's heels on the floor, hear the future rushing up to meet us all. But for the first time, I don't turn back. I've spent too long living in shadows of others' making. It's time to step into my own light. After all, that's what the game was really about. Not winning or losing, but finding your own way to shine.